Could it be? With me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Washington Football Report Live. Or, got to get back into the swing of things, and this is going to change here in, I guess, 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. Welcome, all my fellow Washington brethren and sisters. I am your man and resident Washington football team fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Washington Football Report Live and in color. Don't diss the man because I'll bum rush your mother. Listen what I'm saying. I'm for real. We're not playing. Louie T is the man. You don't got to hit your knees and start praying, though. All right, so let's get to the proceedings this evening. And I want to first and foremost thank all of you for joining me tonight on the program. There are a few topics to discuss. The main one that I want to dive in tonight are the offseason needs. And we'll be talking about this ad nauseum for up until they get to camp and up until free agency and then the draft, because there are things that this team needs to do to take that next step forward. And although Ron and Martin Mayhew and company seem to think that this roster is a lot further along than I and a lot of you out there think it is, there are things that need to be done. And Ron would agree with that assessment. They know that this roster is not complete. It is not whole. However, I think that we feel like there needs to be a lot more done than they do. And so I want to talk about what those things are. Before I get to that, though, I want to start tonight's show by talking about Ron's comments several times this offseason, because when Ron speaks, I listen, because generally Ron is telling you what's going to happen. When he first got here, one of the things that he said that I hung on to and I have never let go and I continue to repeat, other than a culture takes 3 to 4 years in the military to change. And now my new favorite thing is important versus interesting. But what he said when he first got here is that he's pretty transparent, and he says what he means and he means what he says. And you can really literally take Ron on his word a lot of times. When he says something, he says, hey, we think Curtis Samuel needs to touch it more this week. Expect Curtis Samuel to touch it more this week. Hey, we really think we need to lean on the run game this week. Expect them to lean on the run game this week. Like, he's not trying to send you off the trail with a false scent. He's literally telling you what is to come. And Ron this offseason has mentioned this 3 times now. Once in a press conference going into the final week of the season. He mentioned it again at the post-season off-season presser with Martin Mayhew. And then he mentioned it again. I just caught wind of an interview he did with, I think it was Channel 4. And in that interview, he mentioned that he was not going to go to the Senior Bowl, which is not a surprise because the Senior Bowl coincides with the week of the reveal. Washington will be revealing their new name on the 2nd. The Senior Bowl is the 6th, if I'm not mistaken, or see, that's a Wednesday. Thursday is the 3rd. Friday is so the Senior Bowl will be the 5th of February. So Ron will not be in attendance, but everyone else will be. The GM, Martin Mayhew, Marty Herney, and the rest of the group will all be out there. Taking in the entire week, the practices, how guys take to coaching, and then the game itself. But Ron will not, because he'll be here helping roll out the new name, more likely than not. But in that interview with Scott, what is his name? Scott something that does Channel 4. Scott Abrams, Channel 4. He said again, you don't have to find a quarterback in the first round. Okay, he's telling us this for a reason. When people keep telling you things over and over again, you have to listen. You can't just skip over it like, oh, he didn't say that. You have to listen. When Mike Mayock kept telling us, hey, you're going to be surprised at what we do with our first pick in the 2019 draft, you're going to be shocked. He was laying the groundwork for him to go out and draft Clelin Ferrell, which he knew was going to be a shock to many because he didn't deserve to be picked there. And he stunk, and he can't even get on the field. And 3 years later, the Raiders are looking to get out of this, and they were ready to get out of it after the second year. And he kept telling us over and over, you're going to be shocked at what we do. And I think they had the third pick in the draft, fourth, something like that. You're going to be shocked at what we do at number 4. You're damn right we were shocked. And it turned out to be a flop. Ron keeps telling us over and over again, you don't have to draft a quarterback in the first round for him to be successful. And he keeps bringing up Tom Brady, and it's really starting to irk me because I'm like, first of all, Tom Brady is a unicorn. Tom Brady is an outlier. You don't find 6th round quarterbacks that come in the league and light it up. It doesn't happen. It's rare that you even get a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th round quarterback to come in and light it up. And we've got about 4 or 5 of those guys that exist in the league right now. Dak Prescott, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, and Derek Carr, to me, and this is just off the top of my dome. I could be forgetting 1 or 2 guys. Andy Dalton and Derek Carr were the 2 second-round guys that have been hits. Then you have your 3rd round guys, Russell Wilson and Kirk Cousins, and then I think Dak Prescott is a 4th round pick. If he's not, he's a 3rd round pick. Either way, those are the guys right there. That's your collective group of guys that weren't 1st round picks. Everybody else that is of note, 1st round picks. You're not going to find a quarterback that was taken in the 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th or the 5th that's generating any kind of buzz or generating any kind of production that warrants him being a franchise quarterback. For the most part in this league, if you get a quarterback, and I'm not saying that you can't, okay? I'm not saying it's impossible, but right now, okay, Jalen Hurts is a 2nd round quarterback. None of us believe in Jalen Hurts. That doesn't mean he's not going to be successful, but we don't believe in Jalen Hurts. Half of the Eagles fan base doesn't believe in Jalen Hurts. But he's another 2nd round quarterback, and we'll see how he turns out. But for the most part, again, you could go through the list of all the teams in the league. These guys are taken in the 1st round. That said, Ron continues to beat the drum of you don't have to take a quarterback in the 1st round for him to be successful. That is true. You don't have to, but it's more likely that he's going to be successful if you take him in the 1st round. Now, again, there are 1st round flops too, and we see it all the time. You know, Josh Rosen, flop in the 1st round. Sam Darnold, flop in the 1st round. And those are of recent note. Dwayne Haskins, flop in the 1st round. Daniel Jones, more likely than not, going to be a flop in the 1st round. We've seen 1st round misses. They happen all the time. But you're more likely to miss if you take a quarterback outside of the 1st round, and you're more likely to hit if you take a quarterback in the 1st round. So, again, Ron continuing to repeat this narrative of you don't have to take a quarterback in the 1st round. I don't want to harp too much on the fact that he's wrong, because he is. No, he's not wrong. You don't have to take a quarterback in the 1st round. You're right. You don't have to. There's no law that says you have to. The likelihood of that guy being successful in a franchise quarterback decreases if you don't take him in the 1st round. But that said, I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on the part where Ron keeps repeating this like he's a machine, like he's a robot. So that's telling me that Ron's telling you and me and every other member of this fan base, we're not spending our 1st round pick on a quarterback. And again, he could be sending smoke signals. Again, smoke screens galore this time of the year. You know what I like to say, and I'm going to say it anyway because this is what I say every time we get to this part of the year. It's lying season. Believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's spat by me, your man, Louie T. You know what it is. So he could be being deceptive right now. The likelihood is he's not. He's telling you, we don't love any of these quarterbacks. We don't love any of them. We like a bunch of them that we think will be around in the 2nd round. So I'm going to tell you right now, the only guy that you can fall in love with, and I'm trying to make myself fall in love with, for me with quarterbacks, I wanted to be love at first sight. I want to see a guy and I want to feel like Doug feels when he sees Patty Mayonnaise. Oh, Patty Mayonnaise. Oh. I want to see that quarterback. Like how when I saw Josh Allen for the first time, I went, oh my God, Josh Allen. Oh. I knew he was going to be a star. Knew he was going to be a stud. All right. I want to feel that way when I see a quarterback. That's how I felt when I saw Joe Burrow. Oh my God, Joe Burrow. I don't feel that way with any of these quarterbacks, okay? I feel like the man that's in a relationship that kind of wants to go foot in, foot out, wants to stay. She's a really good woman, treats him right, does everything he wants. But he's like, I feel like I can do better than this. I can learn to love her. That's not the place you really want to be. That's kind of where I am with these quarterbacks right now. And I've started my process already. So I said all of that to say this. Ron is telling us over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, hey, don't have to get a quarterback in the first round. And what he's essentially saying is, don't look for us to get a quarterback in the first round. The only guy that I think, first of all, in order to trade up for a quarterback, you have to love a guy. I don't think there's a quarterback that you should love in this draft. There are plenty of quarterbacks that you can like a lot. I like him a lot. So plenty of them. And if you want to love, there's only one quarterback to me that you can love in this draft class. And again, it's everybody's cup of tea is different. Everybody's flavor is different. Okay. Everybody sees things in a different light, from a different perspective. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so I got people telling me Malik Willis is the pick. Why? Why would you want Malik Willis? Okay. You don't love Malik Willis. You can't love Malik Willis. You can like him a lot. To me, Kenny Pickett is the only guy you can love in this draft. And again, I don't know how you love Kenny Pickett because, again, as I've said, with this quarterback draft class, if you take them and stick them in the last two draft classes of quarterbacks, these guys aren't even in the first round. Kenny Pickett might still be in the first round, but he's not getting picked over any one of the quarterbacks that was picked in the top 15 of last year's draft. And we had 5 of them. He doesn't go before any of them. Maybe before Mac Jones. I don't think he does. So, and you go back a draft, he's not picked before the first 3 guys that were picked in that draft: Burrow, Herbert, and Tua. And Tua was second, Herbert was third. He didn't go before any of those guys either. So, at the end of the day, Ron's telling us, hey, we're going to take a quarterback in the second round. That's what it's looking like right now. And in order to get Kenny Pickett, if you really love him, you're going to have to trade up because the Giants are there, Carolina's there. Someone's going to fall in love with this kid. He won't make it out of the top 10, which is why there's all these rumors of Kenny Pickett ending up in Pittsburgh with the Steelers. If they want him, they're going to have to go and get him, and they don't like to trade, okay? They really don't like trading their first-round pick. They'll do it if they have to. They've done it before, okay? But when they came up to get the linebacker, Devin Bush, they've done it before, but I don't think that's what they want to do. But if they want Kenny Pickett, they're going to have to get up in front of some teams. Same thing with us. If we want Kenny Pickett, we're going to have to get in. And the only way you trade up for a guy is if you love him. I don't think Ron and company love any of these quarterbacks, and they shouldn't. So Ron is conditioning us to think, hey, second round quarterback. Sam Howell or Carson Strong, maybe Malik Willis tickles their fancy. One of these guys, and again, these are quarterbacks we're talking about. These aren't tight ends. These aren't offensive guards, okay? They're not going to sit put and stay there. They get pushed up draft boards because everybody's desperate. So a guy that you think is going to be there in the second round is probably going to be picked in the first because that's how this works. So Ron can sit here and tell you, we'll take a quarterback in the second round. He better be prepared to trade back up into the first round if he's not going to take a guy at 11, which I don't advise him to do anyway. If he's not going to take a guy at 11, then you better be prepared to trade back up into the first round to get your guy, or trade up in the second round to get your guy. Trust me, they're going to go faster than you think. This always happens. Always. They don't get pushed down, they get pushed up. That's what quarterbacks do. Same thing with offensive tackles. They don't get pushed down, they get pushed up because everybody's looking for one. So we'll see. Ron keeps telling us, hey, you don't have to get a quarterback in the first round. You're right, you don't have to. But if you don't, that guy, more likely than not, isn't going to end up being a franchise quarterback. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Anyway, I want to dive into something that I said we were going to dive into tonight, and then we'll take your comments. And that's ranking the offseason needs for this team. Ron sounded really confident. Him and Martin Mayhew sounded really confident after the season was done, going into the offseason with the roster as is, and, just feeling like they needed to add a couple more pieces here and there. And I'm like, not exactly. I don't quite feel the way that you do. Okay, there's a reason that, the one thing that I can say Ron did when he first got here, and he did it with the help of Kyle Smith, was he provided depth on this roster. Out with the old, in with the new, provided depth. Cornelius Lucas, J.D. McKissick, Wes Schweitzer, all of these guys came in here. John Bostic and helped provide this roster with depth, something we lacked for years. Even some of the guys that we selected in the draft, like Sadiq Charles, even though he hasn't produced a ton, he provides us with depth. Worst case scenario, if he's got to go in there, it's not the worst thing in the world. Keith Ishmael, same thing. Those guys had to play this year, and it wasn't an abject disaster. That's the one thing I can give Ron credit and company for, is that they've provided this roster with depth. But depth is not dominant frontline starting caliber players. It's what happens in the event that those starters go down. And we had starters go down this year. The depth was tested. And for the most part, I thought the depth in certain areas passed. Okay. The problem was in other areas, the depth did not pass the eye test, and it hurt us drastically. It changed us as an offense, specifically on the offensive side of the football. I think it hurt us defensively. It ultimately caught up with us. There's only so long you can go parading around with Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams, and it was so fun. It's comical to look back at some of the comments about how disciplined those guys were, and this defense is now better because Chase Young and Montez Sweat aren't in the lineup. And that shit is hilarious. Okay. I mean, so funny, in fact, that it's not funny. I forgot to laugh. And to think some of you were dead ass in that assessment. Oh my God, this defense is better without these guys. Then to watch some of these quarterbacks late in the season have zero pressure on them because we can't get home with 4. Not even come close. And they don't have to keep a tight end and chip. This is the thing about Chase Young. And you can say, hey, he's getting his ass kicked one-on-one by this guy or that guy. A lot of times they're chipping and they're keeping a guy in, and they're focusing their line, and they're shifting to his side to make sure that he doesn't win. They're going out of their way to make sure that he doesn't hit home. You don't have to do that when it's James Smith-Williams and Casey Toohill. Okay? You don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to do that when it's William Bradley King or it's Shaka Toney or it's Rotimi Bumney. You don't have to do that anymore. So the depth on the defensive line, specifically defensive end, needs work. I don't care how much Ron likes Shaka Toney. I don't care how much Ron likes James Smith-Williams. And James Smith-Williams is cool. He does his job. He's versatile. You can move him up and down the line. That's great. But when your frontline defensive ends come off the field, there can't be a drop-off where you fall off of a cliff. And I think that's where the disconnect is that we need more talented players backing up our frontline guys. If Curtis Samuel can't play, then we can't be relying on DeAndre Carter. Okay, that can't be the next option up. So, with that said, let's get to Washington's upgrades for the offseason and what they need to be. I think that there are, first of all, this is a list. And for those of you not familiar, when I get listy, I start listing things. And all of my lists are comprised of 7 items, okay? So I'm feeling listy, so I'm going to start listing some things. And this particular list is what upgrades Washington needs to make in the offseason to the roster. So 7 items. I don't think everything is going to be addressed. We're going to go through them one by one from the least important to the most important, and I'll give you a tidbit for each. So we start with number 7 on the list, tight end. Okay. For me, This one is pretty simple. If they bring back Ricky Seals-Jones, don't look for anything to be done at this position in particular, especially if they get a good report from Logan Thomas as to where he is in his rehab process. That said, if you ask me, Logan Thomas is 30 years old. He tore his ACL and a bunch of other CLs at the end of this season. I think it was multiple. It was definitely one, the ACL. He's 30, as I just mentioned, so he's not going to heal like Cam Akers did, where he's going to come back in 6.5 months and be ready to rock and roll. He's not a spring chicken, all right? So it's going to take him a little bit longer to heal, I would think. I could be wrong about that, and he could have these crazy recuperative and regenerative powers, but more likely than not, you hit 30, things slow down, and it'll take him a little while to get back, and then having it happen in as late in the season as it did leads me to believe he won't be ready to start next season. If that is in fact the case, you need to do something. Even if you bring Ricky Seals-Jones back, and he was oft injured this year, you need to do something at tight end. For me, personally, I would go after Evan Ingram. I know a lot of you don't love Evan Ingram, and that's fine. But I would go after one of two tight ends. I think O.J. Howard fits this team more so than Evan Ingram because O.J. Howard can block his ass off, but I think he could be a much better receiver than he's been shown to be in this league. Tampa Bay's not going to re-sign O.J. Howard this offseason. So we've talked about O.J. Howard for 3 years in a row trying to trade for him. Well, now he's a free agent, okay? I'd go after O.J. Howard or Evan Ingram. I think this team and this group, Rivera, Martin Mayhew, Marty Hurney, I think they would be more likely to go after an O.J. Howard because of his blocking prowess. He's a big target that mimics that of why am I blanking on his name? Logan Thomas. So you're getting a guy that can give you what you're missing when you lose Logan Thomas. I was looking for more athletically gifted. Not that O.J. Howard isn't an athlete, but Evan Ingram is an elite athlete. But Evan Ingram also drops the football. So I would be fine, perfectly fine with either one of those guys. For me, Evan Ingram probably views himself as a starting NFL tight end, as he should. That being the case, I don't think he's coming here to start. If you've got Logan Thomas and he's healthy, then Evan Ingram won't be starting. But if you're not going to have Logan Thomas to start the season, you can promise Evan Ingram, yeah, you're going to be getting started reps because our guy's out. If I'm Evan Ingram, I'm going somewhere where you've got an elite quarterback, number one, and I know I'm going to be the guy, number two. And that's a place like maybe Los Angeles with the Chargers, So there are other places you can go. I would go heavy after O.J. Howard. No need in worrying about the tight end crop and investing in a tight end. It's not going to cost you a ton of money to sign O.J. Howard. His stats, his injury history, all of these things bring his value down significantly. I would go after O.J. Howard. It won't cost you a ton. You could probably get a deal done with him, 2 years, $10 million, something like that, 2 years, $12 million, and bring O.J. Howard on board, and he could come in and start right away. If Logan Thomas isn't ready, you'll still have John Bates backing him up, and you still have Sammy Reyes in the event that, you need to go 3 deep and Logan Thomas isn't ready. But for me, if you bring back Ricky Seals-Jones, I don't think they're going to be aggressive in the tight end market. I think they should. Ricky Seals-Jones, love him, love what he did for us. I think you can do better than Ricky Seals-Jones. I would love to see them go after a guy like O.J. Howard or Evan Ingram. But I honestly don't think they're going to do anything here of note. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I do think the tight end position could use an upgrade. So we'll see what they decide to do. Logan Thomas healthy changes this offense. We saw it. Even the brief period that he was able to be healthy and play, we saw the impact of a Logan Thomas on this offense. The Buffalo game, he had a touchdown in that game where he climbed the ladder, went and got the football. We saw his impact against the Raiders before he got hurt in that game. We see what Logan Thomas brings to this offense. We saw what he was able to do against Seattle, his first game back on that Monday night. Logan Thomas is huge for this offense. You take that position out of this offense, and it's not the same offense. No disrespect to John Bates, but he isn't the pass-catching threat that an O.J. Howard could be, an Evan Ingram could be, Logan Thomas is, or Ricky Seals-Jones when he's right. And even Ricky Seals, to me, is a lesser option. So for me, I would like an upgrade there because I've already said this. John Bates is a TE3 in my book, you know, a very, very low end TE2, but more likely than not TE3. And you need 3 tight ends. So you need John Bates. And I can tell you this right now, if we were to have 2 really good tight ends in front of him, he'd be one of the best 3rd tight ends in the league. Now, what the hell does that mean? You have to quantify that. What does that mean to you? For me, 3rd tight ends rarely get the ball. They block all the time. You can actually throw it to John Bates. He's not Lee Smith, okay, who's 285 pounds, looks like another offensive lineman, and they throw it to him every, 12th game, and he sneaks in the end zone. Nobody's paying attention because he looks like an offensive lineman, and he's open for a touchdown. That's not John Bates. You can actually throw it to him. He can make plays as a 3rd tight end. So we'll see what happens. Tight end for me is the number 7 need this off season. So you get to number 6, and for me, it's D-line depth. I just spoke about why this is important, but let's elaborate. Let's go into this a little bit deeper. So you're going to lose Tim Settle more likely than not this offseason. He's not going to return. So that really, you take a hit to your defensive tackle depth, something that we haven't had to worry about for years, it seems like. Well, this is the first year where I'm looking at the position and saying, we got to do something. And it doesn't, and we've drafted all these 1st-round guys. You got Matt Ioannidis here. Ioannidis wasn't himself last year. We're hoping he gets back to the level that he was at pre-injury because Ioannidis was a shell of himself this year. He was not impactful. He did not get pressure on the quarterback. It wasn't the Ioannidis that we've come to know and love and that we felt like was one of the best interior pass rushers, not just on this team, but in the league, behind the elites of Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, and some of those guys inside. Ioannidis was right there. With a larger sample size, I thought he could produce at a higher rate, but that didn't happen this year. He didn't play the way we thought. So hopefully we get him back into the swing of things. He had COVID. He dealt with a lot of stuff last year that I don't know if he ever fully, truly got his legs under him and got back to the Matt Ioannidis of old. But you're going to lose Tim Settle. Obviously, they got a decision to make on Daron Payne. Now, Payne still has a year on his contract, so they don't have to do anything if they don't want to do anything. But if they really, truly want him back, just like Jonathan Allen, you give him a contract this offseason. I don't think Daron Payne is a guy that they're too worried about right now, but Daron Payne has already voiced that he would love to be here. I haven't heard anything on Ron and his company's end. So we'll see how that situation plays itself out. But regardless of what, even if you were to bring back a Daron Payne, you still need more depth inside at defensive tackle. Now, they could just say, hey, we got, Wise, Daniel Wise, and we like him a lot. And he showed his versatility last year. He played defensive end when we were in a pinch. He can play defensive tackle. That's cool. I would like to upgrade that position totally. So Daniel Wise is cool. How about taking a 5th round defensive tackle and throwing him in the mix? It's not going to hurt you, right? You could sign a guy in free agency that won't cost you a lot if you want. To me, defensive line, because you've spent all this draft capital and you may have to pay some of these guys, I'm not looking to pay anybody on the free agent market. That's a position you can get in the draft, and it doesn't have to be early. We got Tim Settle in the 5th, 6th round. Like, we don't have to spend an early draft pick on defensive line depth. But when I say defensive line depth, I'm not just talking about inside. Yeah, you're losing Tim Settle. Last year, and I already mentioned this, I'm going to mention it again because it is pertinent. Last year, when our ends went down, it's one thing when one of them goes down, right? Because you still got the other one. And then if you got to throw in a James Smith-Williams, you're not going to fall off of a cliff. James Smith-Williams is going to do his job. He's going to be solid in the run game. Every now and again, he'll fall into a sack. So you're fine with that, right? You're fine with that. It's when both of these guys go down, and they did last year, and you're not expecting both to go down at the same time, but they both went down last year. That's when you get into a rut because you don't have that guy. And that's when a Ryan Kerrigan used to come in handy, because if somebody went down, there was still Kerrigan on the bench. So you don't have that Kerrigan to give you a little bit of relief if, in fact, one of these guys goes down or both of these guys goes down. You got to do something. And remember, last year, one of the discussions we had was that they wanted to get a defensive end that was a veteran, and nobody wanted to come here because they saw the 2 stallions on the outside, and they're like, I'm not going to get any playing time. So none of the veterans really wanted to come here. So they had to go to the draft. And that's why they got Shaka Toney in the 7th round. That's cool. William Bradley King in the 7th round. That's cool. But those guys aren't ready to contribute. That's why you take them in the 7th round. I want them to go and look for a guy, and this was last year's draft or maybe the year before, a guy like Travis Gibson, okay? 6'4", 6'5", 255, 60-pound defensive end, that quick twitch that can come in. You get him in the 3rd, 4th round, and he can help your football team right away. That's the kind of guy I'm looking for, and I'll be looking for that guy in this year's draft. We need defensive line depth inside, and we need at least one defensive end, I feel like, whether it's free agency or the draft, preferably the draft, young guy that you don't have to pay right away. You can develop him. And again, you're not looking for a guy that's a star right now because you still got these 2 guys that are going to be playing here for what we think is a long time. Now, we don't know about, which one, if they're going to pick one, which one they're going to pick. Obviously, we think we know which one they're going to ultimately pick if they have to choose, but we'll see what happens. We need a defensive end, at least one, to add to the mix, I believe. I hope they are not too comfortable with Casey Toohill, James Smith-Williams, William Bradley King, and Shaka Toney. They may think, well, we got a plethora of young defensive ends. They're going to continue to develop. That's the wrong answer, okay? That's the wrong answer. Those guys are solid football players, but the reason that Casey Toohill went undrafted, the reason that James Smith-Williams was a 7th round pick, the reason that William Bradley King and Shaka Toney were additional 7th round picks is because they have ceilings. Okay. They're not going to turn into adequate backup edge rushers that can get you 6.5 sacks. That's none of those guys on this roster. Not a single one. Maybe, just maybe Shaka Toney. But Shaka Toney has tried to put on weight. He can't put on weight. It's not going to happen. He's not going to be 255 pounds. If he's 240, that is a miracle. He is what he is. So, anyway, I digress. D-line depth, to me, is the 6th biggest need this off season. You go to number 5, offensive line depth. This was one of our positions of strength last season. I think going into next year, it will be a position of strength, one that Ron and company want to lean on. Ron has referenced this group as the catalyst for this offense and this team moving forward. And that's why they invested in Charles Leno Jr. That's why they went out and got Wes Schweitzer. That's why they went out and got Cornelius Lucas. That's why they've done all of the things to improve this group, because they think that this is the group that's going to carry this team. That said, the O-line depth was tested this past year. And don't forget, Chase Roullier got an extension as well. They've invested in this position or this offensive line, this group. But the depth was tested. Schweitzer went down. Chase Roullier went down. Sam Cosmi went down. And that's another investment. You're drafting Sam Cosmi. And we were cycling through all of these players on the line. And I thought the offensive line held up for the most part outside of the first Dallas game. They were abysmal in that game. And so for me, you look at this line as a collective unit, and you say Charles Leno is definitely going to be here. They just signed him. You look at Eric Flowers. He's got one more year on his deal. Signed a 3-year deal with the Dolphins 2 years ago. So he's got one more year left on his deal. Chase Roullier will be back from his injury. He got injured against the Green Bay Packers, done for the season. So we look forward to having him back. He's a huge part of that offensive line. And you don't know what you've gotten until it's gone. And he was one of those guys we took for granted sometimes. I mentioned him, and everyone called me, or some of you called me a jinx, and I'll take that one because I talked about how blessed we were to have Chase Roullier. He doesn't miss any games, and we've got all this depth at center. And then as soon as I say that, Chase Roullier goes down, Wes Schweitzer goes down, Tyler Lawson goes down, and next thing you know, we've got Keith Ishmael in the game. So yeah, I'll take the blame for that one. I'll take that one on the chin. But Chase Roullier is a damn good center, and you love what he brings to the table. Brandon Sheriff could be gone. And I think most of us have wrapped our brains around the concept of him no longer being here in Washington. I think a lot of us did that last offseason, and some of you even the offseason before. For me, I thought that he would have re-signed the offseason before this one Washington, I don't know if they made an aggressive offer. Then, Ron came in. I think last year was when I knew they weren't going to get a deal. The offseason before that was the time I thought it was to strike, but Ron wasn't giving out deals that year. And so Sheriff went into the last year of his contract. Ron didn't extend him an offer. He found out what kind of a player and locker room guy Brandon Sheriff was. He wanted him back. By that time, Brandon Sheriff had no incentive to sign a deal. So at that point, you find yourself, franchise tagging this man 2 years in a row. And you're not going to do it a third year. So now he's got to make a decision. Does he truly want to be in Washington, which is what he said over and over again? I want to spend the rest of my career here. Well, we're going to see. We're going to test his loyalty, because even though I don't like what Martin Mayhew did or said, which was the whole Bruce Allen thing of, hey, we extended this guy an offer to make him the highest paid offensive guard in NFL history. Like, I don't need you to do that. Now, I don't need you to put that out there. Okay. That doesn't benefit anybody. You're trying to look like the good guy. I don't need that. We know what the situation is. We understand what's going on here. We're smart enough. You don't have to do that. But he did it anyway. And so that information's out there. Now the ball is in Brandon Sheriff's court. Do you really, truly want to be here or not? We'll see. If he's not back, you need to do something on the offensive line. You need to draft a guy, because could his replacement already be on the roster? Sure. Wes Schweitzer has already shown us he can step in and play. But I'm more comfortable, and I've said this, and I say the same thing about Cornelius Lucas. I'm more comfortable with Wes Schweitzer as my primary backup at the 3 interior spots, both guards and center. I feel much better about Wes Schweitzer at those 3 positions than I do him just starting. Now he's not on the bench. Now if somebody goes down inside, there's no Wes Schweitzer to put into the game. Speaking of which, this is Wes Schweitzer's last year. So you need to be thinking forward. You got Schweitzer on an expiring contract. You got Eric Flowers on an expiring contract. Neither one of those guys are spring chickens. Both of them are on their 2nd NFL contract. So the next time, if they're signed, it'll be their 3rd NFL contract. So again, you need to be thinking ahead. If you lose Sheriff, you got 2 guards that are on expiring contracts. You need to draft a guard. So to me, you need to draft a guard, or you can sign another Wes Schweitzer type. If you've got the personnel out there, Chris Polian and some of those guys to scour the league and find a guy that is a hidden gem like you did with Wes Schweitzer, by all means, knock yourself out. He's been one of the best value deals that we've signed. That 3-year, $13 million deal that we signed Wes Schweitzer to 2 years ago has been mwah. So if you can find another one of those guys, knock yourself out. By all means, please. But if you can't, the draft is where you need to go. Mid rounds, I think day 3 is when you should be looking to upgrade the offensive line. Same thing can be said for tackle. I love Sam Cosmi in his limited, reps last year. He looked damn good, right? Got to keep him healthy moving forward. We know Charles Leno is a guy that they like. They re-signed him, so you got your tackles. But as we saw last year, can't guarantee that these guys are going to stay healthy. Leno did. Sam Cosmi did not. That's when you need a Cornelius Lucas. And the one thing I can say to this organization that we've done a pretty good job at is we've done a really good job at having that backup tackle. When some shit goes down, that first tackle off the bench, he's quality, of high quality. We had it with Ty and Secchi for years, and now we've got it with Cornelius Lucas. Well, Cole Luke is up for a new deal. And the way he's played over the last 2 years, somebody's going to look at him and say, hey, he can start for us. He can start for us. So I'm thinking we're not going to get him back on the same kind of deal we got him in free agency 2 years ago. I don't see that happening. He's going to get some good money elsewhere. Hell, even Charles Leno, who is friends with Cornelius Lucas because they go back to the Chicago Bears days, he said, I want him to get paid. And that I think he will. I'm not saying he's going to get tremendous money. He'll get starters money somewhere, low-level starting money, and he'll take that. And I don't blame him. We need to replace him. Okay, we need that first guy off the bench at the tackle position to be someone that steps in and we don't miss a beat. And that's what we've gotten out of Cornelius Lucas for the last 2 years. And I can assure you that guy is not on the football team right now. I can assure you of that. Okay? Sadiq Charles is not that guy. Not that guy. Okay? Sorry, buddy. Not that guy. So I think offensive line depth is another one that we need to tackle. You're going to need a tackle. If Cornelius Lucas isn't back, never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. If he's not back and Brandon Sheriff is gone in free agency, whether he is or isn't, you got 2 guys on expiring deals after this season in Wes Schweitzer and Eric Flowers. You need to be exploring the guard position anyway, if you ask me. So offensive line depth, the 5th biggest need on this team this offseason. Number 4, wide receiver. So for some of you, this is a lot higher on the list. I don't think it's as pressing a need. Here's why. Ron said in his offseason press conference with Martin Mayhew, don't forget about Cam Sims, which means you haven't forgotten about Cam Sims, which means you're probably going to try and sign Cam Sims. Why? Because Ron believes that Curtis Samuel is going to come back healthy and he's going to make it all right at the receiver position and we'll be fine then. And De'Ami Brown's going to develop and, all of a sudden we'll have this abundance of riches at the receiver position with Terry and Curtis and De'Ami and Cam Sims and Dax Milne. We'll be loaded at receiver. We don't need to do anything but re-sign Cam Sims. DeAndre Carter may be back as well. We got too many receivers as it is. That might be the way Ron's thinking about this. And if that is in fact the case, I don't blame him for feeling that way. They know Curtis Samuel. They invested in him because they believe in him and his skill set. They've seen Cam Sims grow from a relative unknown to a guy that has been trustworthy when having to be put into these situations. So I don't have a problem with them feeling good about the group that they have. I have a problem with them feeling like they don't need to do anything extra to add to the group that they already have. They can feel really good about this group. It's a solid group when healthy. That's the problem. It's not always healthy. Cam Sims dealt with an injury this year. Obviously, Curtis Samuel was a non-factor. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. Dax Milne is a second-year player that you don't want to put too much on his plate. Same can be said with De'Ami Brown. At some point, you're going to need De'Ami to start to flourish. But, these are second-year receivers. You didn't even feel comfortable enough putting De'Ami Brown on the field after his first injury. You didn't even feel comfortable putting him out on the field, really, after that. So he's got a little bit of ways to go in his development. Hopefully, he takes a huge leap in year number 2. But at the end of the day, to me, you need to add, especially if Cam Sims isn't back, but I think they're going to bring him back. I think they see him as a cheap option to bring back a guy that they know, that they trust, that knows the system already. And they feel like, he made some plays when given an opportunity. I think they're going to bring him back. If they don't, you need to replace his size. We don't have, when you look around this roster, everybody is 6'1" or shorter. Okay. Terry's a 6-foot receiver. Curtis Samuel's a 5'11" wide receiver. De'Ami Brown's a 6-foot receiver. Dax Milne might be 6'1". He's a 6'1" receiver is Dax Milne. When you look around, we don't have any size. We don't have the guy that can climb the ladder, go get the football. Cam Sims presents that kind of a target. I would like a more physically imposing receiver like Cam Sims. If you look at his frame, it's a wiry frame. You know what I mean? Like, he's tall, up and down, long, but there's no muscular definition. He's not a physically imposing guy. He's just tall. You know what I mean? He reminds me a lot of Leonard Hankerson in that regard. Leonard Hankerson was tall, up and down, kind of, bulky and mechanically when he moved in his movement skills. But there was no real physicality to his game. So I feel the same way about Cam Sims. I like Cam Sims a lot, though. And I know they do as well. And so if they decide to bring him back, then this position may not get any work. They may not do anything of note and substance there. I feel like they need to do something, and it doesn't have to be, something in the first 2 days of the draft. Again, you can find depth at receiver. That's one of those positions. You can find a guy from West Alabama State, and he can come in the league and have success. You just got to, Adam Thielen, went to Minnesota Mankato or whatever the hell it was called, like formerly of Minnesota State, and was a walk-on at the local regional combine in Minnesota. That's how he got on the Vikings roster as a special teams guy after they discovered him at a local combine. You can find receivers anywhere. That's one of those positions. You don't have to take a guy early in the draft. But I think receivers a position they could definitely use an upgrade at. I think we all feel that way. And again, Curtis Samuel comes back healthy. He would change things drastically, but they have to do something. You got to have another guy that you can rely on in the event. And he doesn't have to look like Curtis Samuel. Could you imagine if we would have had a 6'3", 6'4"? Could you imagine if AGG had worked out and he was ready to step in, Curtis Samuel gets hurt, and AGG steps in and he's balling? Like, I don't care if he's, a clone of Curtis Samuel's, 5'11", shifty, can use him at running back and receiver. He doesn't have to be a clone. I just need production out of receiver 2. Terry hasn't had a productive wide receiver 2 since he got here. He's had to be number 1, 2, and 3 for this offense at the receiver position. That's got to change. He needs a road dog, somebody he can rely on. If Curtis Samuel is that guy, cool. If he's not, you need to have a guy that can step in the event of that emergency. We haven't had that guy yet. So receiver is number 4 on my list. I'm going to be honest with you. If they re-sign Cam Sims, similar to tight end, if they re-sign Ricky Seals-Jones, don't look for much to happen. Don't look for much to happen. Need number 3. Free safety and cornerback. I put these in a group because to me, it's a package deal. Cornerback, when you look at that position, standalone, you say, hey, we got 2 more years of William Jackson III. He started to come on, toward the middle portion of the season after his first injury. He started to come on. And he came back and he was lights out. He shut it down on that side of the field. He kept it awfully quiet over there. And then you look at Kendall Fuller. He still got 2 years left on his deal. Look at Benjamin St-Juste, who when he played and was healthy, he was outstanding. I got to give him credit. And the knock on him wasn't that he couldn't cover. It's that he didn't make plays on the football. Well, he didn't make any plays on the football. So he did what we thought he was capable of doing. Okay, just don't look for him to pick anything off. But he was always in position to make plays on the football. So I liked Benjamin St-Juste. Juice looked good in his rookie season when healthy. Again, that's the theme of our rookie class from last year. When healthy, right? Sam Cosmi, when healthy. Benjamin St-Juste, when healthy. De'Ami Brown did not stay healthy. So they got to stay healthy to produce at the level that we need them to. But I don't think you worry about those 3 guys, and I don't think you worry about boundary corner necessarily. You got guys you feel good about. And you could even find like a Darryl Roberts who stepped in at the end of the season, and I thought he stepped in admirably. You can find another guy to add to that mix as a veteran and feel good about it. I think right now where we're lacking, which is why this is on the list, is we need a bona fide nickel corner. This is why I wanted Mike Hilton. Did you see Mike Hilton covering Hunter Renfrow in Wild Card Weekend for the Cincinnati Bengals? This is why, and Mike Hilton signed a very modest deal. I think it's something like 3 years, $18 million or something like that. I wanted Mike Hilton in free agency last year. Now, not to say that Mike Hilton would have come here. Maybe he chose Cincinnati before even exploring any other options. Like, I want to stay in the AFC North. He came from Pittsburgh. Maybe he wanted to stay in that division and not, veer too far away from the only place he had ever known and called home in this league. That could be the case. Maybe they were interested in Mike Hilton. Maybe they weren't. I can tell you this. We need a nickel corner badly. A lot of times when we got beat, specifically on third downs, it was inside in the nickel. Okay. Teams took advantage of our inability to stop receivers in the slot. The first game of the season comes to mind, and how Keenan Allen put on a clinic on how you get wide open against, soft zone and horrendous coverage, man-to-man inside in the slot. He ate us alive. We knew he was getting the ball. We still couldn't cover him. I think about some other games where we had trouble covering the slot receiver inside. And I think that's one of those positions, when you look at defense in today's NFL, you could argue that after your boundary corner, and you could argue that nickel is more important than your boundary corner, depending on what team you're playing against. But really, after your edge rushers, your D-line in particular, nickel corner might be the next most important position on the field because of how much action they see and how versatile they have to be. Understand that boundary corners are boundary corners for a reason, because they have the sidelines as another defender. There isn't a four-way go as a boundary corner, okay? You either go inside, up the field, or come back to the football. You go outside, there's not a lot of space out there. As a nickel, you got a four-way go of it. That guy could go inside, he could go outside, he could go up the field, he could come back to the football. You don't know where he's going, so you've got to have loose ankles. I want a quick-twitched, freaky athlete inside. Doesn't have to be fast. He needs to be quick. Quick-footed, twitchy, that can change directions like that. That's what I'm looking for in this draft. You don't have to get one of those guys in the first, second, or third round. But if you find one in the third or the second, I'm all for it. I'll be looking, because that's what we need. We got boundary corners. We got Kendall Fuller. We got Benjamin St. Juste. We got William Jackson. We're covered on the outside. We're good. We need a guy inside. Fuller doesn't look like he's interested in playing nickel anymore. That ship sailed. He wants to play outside now. His head and his heart isn't in moving inside. We need a nickel corner. Then free safety. I've already said this. Did you guys see? Did you guys see the play that Micah Hyde made in the playoff game against the New England Patriots? Please tell me you watched that game. Second possession of that game. Might have been the first. Mac Jones tries to go up top, and he's got a receiver. He's got a receiver. Nelson Aguilar is behind the defense. And that ball could have been put out a little bit further. But that ball was put in a place that a play could have been made and a touchdown would have been had if Micah Hyde does not get over the top. The range on that play, the ball skills, that's better than 60% of the receivers in this league. They can't track a ball over their shoulder like that. Did you see the play that Micah Hyde made? We don't have that on our roster. Nothing even remotely close to it. We need a guy. We need a guy. I'm watching all of these safeties this season. I'm watching Minkah Fitzpatrick. I'm watching Kevin Byard. I'm watching Micah Hyde. I'm watching Justin Simmons. I'm watching Jesse Bates III. I'm watching Trayvon Merrick, who we could have drafted last year if we wanted him. I'm watching all of these guys, these young, Xavier McKinney for the Giants. I'm watching all of these young safeties make plays. And I'm saying, where's our guy? Where's the guy that's got freaky range, that is erasing mistakes in the back end of the defense? Where's our guy getting back there after our corner? How many times have we saw Kendall Fuller trailing on a play, or one of our corners trailing on a play, and that safety's trailing right along with him, and we're beat deep over the top? Wouldn't it be nice to have our corner trailing on the play, but he's trailing because he's supposed to be in trail technique, knowing that he's got help over the top, and the safety's actually over the top, ready to make a play on the football? We haven't seen that since Sean Taylor. It's been a while. And you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Let's just fix this. We got the 11th pick in the draft. Let's fix this. Now, everyone's saying Kyle Hamilton, he may not be there. He probably won't be there. Get that in your head. We're at 11. We're not at 4. We're not at 7. We're at 11. He probably won't be there. Okay? This is not a quarter. You needed this to be a quarterback-heavy draft like last year in order to get a guy like Kyle Hamilton to fall to you at 11. This isn't that. So all of the talented football players that are supposed to go in the top 10, they're going to go in the top 10 because there aren't quarterbacks that shouldn't go in the top 10 pushing them out of the top 10. That's how the Saints ended up with Marshawn Lattimore at 11. That's how you get lucky because you need a draft. That was the 2018 draft. That was Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold and Sam Darnold and Josh Allen and Josh Rosen all in the top 10. That's how Marshawn Lattimore falls to the Saints at 11. Marshawn Lattimore was a top 5 talent in that year's draft. But he fell to 11 to the Saints because 4 quarterbacks went in the top 10. That's not happening this year. It's not happening this year. The only thing that may save you, and I doubt it because the Jets are going to lose Marcus May, more likely than not. He just injured himself, and they franchise tagged him last year, and they're probably going to let him walk this year coming off of injury. You got 2 teams with 2 picks in the top 10. The Jets have 2 picks, and the Giants have 2 picks, I think. I know the Giants do. I'm not sure about the Jets. I think they have 2 top 10 picks as well. Either way, that may save you. It may not save you. I don't think it's going to save you. I think the Jets are going to be looking at Kyle Hamilton saying, we could use a safety. Got our quarterback already, so we're straight there. This Kyle Hamilton kid, is he as good as everybody says he is? Okay, yeah, we're going to go ahead and take him with our first of 2 top 10 picks. We're going to do that. He won't be there at 11. So you guys can go ahead and put that shit in a bag, stuff it, wrap it, throw that shit away, okay? You're not getting Kyle Hamilton at 11. Just like a lot of you wanted Michael Parsons last year, you weren't getting him at 19, okay? You're not getting Kyle Hamilton at 11. So we're going to have to do something at free safety. And I don't know if it's a first-round pick. I don't know if it's a second-round pick. I don't know if it's a free agent. Again, if they re-sign Bobby McCain, they may not view free safety as a big need. Bobby McCain, keep in mind, finished the season with a 2-interception game. One of them being a pick 6, okay? And while it was a pick 6 and it was a nice play, it wasn't a great play. Any safety in the league could have made that play. That wasn't a, oh my God, look at Bobby McCain being special. He still made the play. I don't want to take anything away from him. But I feel like we as a defense, specifically the free safety position, they leave a lot to be desired and a lot of meat on the bone on the field. A lot of meat left on that bone. I watched the Tampa Bay Buccaneers safeties fly around. They got like 6 of them. I'd take any one of them in a heartbeat. Give me Jordan Whitehead. Give me Mike Edwards. Give me the young pup. Damn it. His dad played in the league. And Winfield Jr., Antoine Winfield Jr. All 3 of them are beasts. Better than any safety we got on our team, and it's not close. Mike Edwards, Jordan Whitehead, Antoine Winfield Jr. Go look them up. Go watch the game against Philadelphia. Watch those boys. You got a bird's eye view of those boys. When we played them, they were hitting. Remember what everybody said after that game? That's the most physical game I've ever played in the NFL. Terry said it. One of the offensive linemen said it. It was a physical game. Why? Because those boys fly around, and it's not just Devin White. It's not just the linebackers and the defensive linemen. Those safeties fly around. Don't none of our safeties look like that. Landon Collins, when he's playing at a high level, he's flying around. But it don't look like that. We need one of those boys. To think the Buccaneers got Antoine Winfield in the 2nd round, if I'm not mistaken. If it wasn't 2nd round, it was late 1st. I'm curious to see when they got him. See when they got him. They got him in the 2nd round of the 2020 NFL draft. Boy, what I wouldn't give anything. I would love to see Washington have an opportunity to draft a difference-making player like that in the 2nd round. I don't know if that's going to happen or not this year, but we'll see. Free safety is a need, I believe. And again, I've said this about 3 positions now. Add this to the list of those positions. If they bring back a guy that is already currently on the roster, they may decide not to do anything or not to be overly aggressive at that position. I said it with receiver if they bring back Cam Sims. I said it at tight end if they bring back Ricky Seals-Jones. I'm saying it again at free safety. If they bring back Bobby McCain, they may feel like, oh, we're good. No, you're not, but they might feel like they're good. So keep that in mind. That could be something that they decide to do. I hope, just like most of you out there, and I told you, I don't have a Bobby McCain problem. I've got a Bobby McCain is an elite problem, and I want better, similar to the way a lot of you felt about the quarterback position with Kirk Cousins. I was fine with Kirk Cousins. A lot of you said, I want better. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with wanting better. You just got to find it. Still haven't found better at the quarterback position. And if they get rid of Bobby McCain, then you're going to have to do something. If they don't, then they may not feel the need to do anything. So keep that in mind. But to me, that's the third biggest need is a nickel corner and a free safety. Need number 2. You guys already know. You already know what it is. We got to figure out middle linebacker. We have to figure out middle linebacker. And the reason I say figure it out is because that guy could already exist on the roster. Cole Holcomb practically begged to be the mic at his exit press conference, with the media. Practically said, I can do it. I'm already calling the plays. I've got the green dot on my helmet. I feel comfortable. I was a middle linebacker in college. Let me run the point, coach. Let me run point. I got this. And I'm listening to Ron, and Ron is like, bro, you're an outside linebacker. You and Jamin Davis, both of y'all. Ain't no middle linebacker on this team. And he kept saying, man, what a difference it made to have a true middle linebacker inside in David Mayo. It really allowed Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb to play fast and free. Translation, we don't want either one of y'all at middle linebacker. Okay, if that's the case, and neither one of them you peg as a middle linebacker, fine. Find one. And it can't be John Bostic. It can't be David Mayo. It can't be some veteran retread that's smart, that watches a ton of film, but is a liability on the field. Go get us a real middle linebacker. Now, this I do feel like needs to be a day 1 or day 2 pick. Yep, I know we did a linebacker in the first round last year, and if we did it again this year, I wouldn't even bat an eye. I wouldn't even blink. Fix the middle linebacker position. If you truly want this front 7 to be impactful, you got to fix middle linebacker. I feel like maybe he's right about Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb. Maybe those guys will play faster and freer when they don't have to think. They can just go out and play, right? They don't have to get everybody set up. They don't have to worry about communicating to the rest of the defense. They can just worry about their job. But if you really want to enhance this defensive line, you really want them to get the true credit they deserve, especially the guys inside, you need a linebacker that's aggressive, that shoots gaps, that takes advantage of Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne up front, eating up offensive linemen. You need a linebacker that people have to be concerned with. I'm watching Darius Leonard. He makes a play every game, whether he's punching it out, and nobody forces more fumbles at the linebacker position than Darius Leonard. He's perfected the peanut punch. He's making these crazy interceptions. How many? I bet you Darius Leonard had 5 interceptions this year. I'm going to look it up. I'm curious. And Darius Leonard doesn't grow on trees. He was a 2nd round pick, though. Why we can't find one of those? I'm going to look up Darius Leonard. See how many picks he had this year. He had 4 interceptions this year, and he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 forced fumbles this year. 8 forced fumbles and 4 INTs, for Darius Leonard. He's got 11 career interceptions in just 4 seasons. That's probably more than all of our secondary combined at this point of their careers. William Jackson III, Kendall Fuller, Bobby McCain, and whomever else you want to put. That's Cam Curl, who only has one career interception, or Landon Collins, who probably has 2 or 3, maybe 4 max. This guy's he's a linebacker, middle linebacker. He's got 11 already. Darius Leonard is a freak. Fred Warner is a freak. I want the best of them. It's probably Devin White for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. These guys are freaks. I'm not saying that you're going to find one of those, because those are hard to find. But I do want a real difference-making middle linebacker. And we haven't had one of those probably since London Flecter. And even London Flecter was good. But when we got him, by the time we got him, he was on his 3rd team. He wasn't a spring chicken. But we loved him because we didn't have shit. And that's what we tend to do here. We fall in love with items that are less than stellar, and we put them on this pedestal to make them something that they're not, because we don't have shit. And I've already gone over this whole theory of what we do as a fan base here. We hold on to stuff so tight because we don't have shit. So when we finally get something, we don't want to let it go. We need a middle linebacker. Where's our version of Luke Kuechly? All right, where's our guy that looks like that? Where's our Bobby Wagner? We need one of those guys. The one thing this division is missing is a dominant middle linebacker. Nobody has one. Blake Martinez is good. He's not dominant. The Eagles don't give a shit about the linebacker position. And the Cowboys, they've got some solid linebackers, Leighton Vander Esch, and but Michael Parsons isn't a middle linebacker. He's an outside backer. How about we go get the dominant middle linebacker? How about we do that? How about we start a trend in this division? We got to figure out the middle linebacker position. Whatever we do, however they go about it. In the draft, free agency, I don't think there's going to be any real free agents out there worth going after, but whatever, they need to figure it out. And I've heard so many times, we need to get Bobby Wagner. Bobby Wagner is 87 years old. Why? He doesn't even fit in the time frame of what we're trying to do here. No. And Ron wouldn't do that anyway. That's not how Ron's plan works. So, finally, our biggest need. I don't have to tell you what this is. You already know what this is. We got to find a franchise QB, man. And this could consist of a trade. This could consist of the draft. 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round. The guy's not on the roster. Ron tried to tell us we've got 4 different ways to find a franchise. No, you don't. Nope. Stop. You got 3. Free agency, draft, trade. That's it. The guy is not on the roster right now. You know it. I know it. We all know it. So stop. That's just him not wanting to disrespect Taylor Heineke and Kyle Allen. And no, that's not disrespect. That's truth. And that's okay. Heineke even reflected on the season. He said, I'm grateful for the opportunity that I got. In whatever capacity I'm here in next year, you already know what capacity it is. You're either a bridge starter or you're a backup. And I've already said, I like my Taylor Heineke backing up. It ain't nothing like some Cole Heine. I told you, Cole Heine off the bench. Pull him out of the fridge, nice and ice cold. He comes in, he goes down smooth. Pause. I like me some Cole Heine, man. I think he's going to be the perfect quintessential NFL backup. I would love him to be here for years to come. He's not a franchise quarterback. You need to find that guy. And again, not the best draft to do that. But you can also explore the trade market, and, it's getting interesting out there because dominoes are going to fall. How does that impact other teams? We'll see. But, Kirk Cousins could be on the move. Again, not necessarily here, which I know a lot of you don't want him here, but, that could prompt a team to go get him, and then their quarterback that they currently have could become available. Derek Carr still undecided on his future in Vegas. They're going to get a new GM, a new coach. They're going to start over. He could get the Matthew Stafford syndrome and say, you know what? Been here for a while. You guys are starting over again. I've done this 3-4 times already. I don't want to do it again. Trade me. Got 1 year left on my deal. Trade me. Okay. He could be available. I don't think Baker Mayfield is going to be available. The Browns would be really foolish to do that. And they've already come out and said, about that. I don't think we're going to do anything there. Yeah, no. I think we're going to hold on to Baker. Smart move. But, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be available. I want nothing to do with Jimmy Garoppolo. But, again, in this game of musical chairs, there are 32 starting quarterback positions out there, 32 chairs. Not everybody's going to have a quality starting quarterback in one of those chairs. Somebody's going to take Jimmy Garoppolo off the 49ers' hands. I don't want it to be us. But some other team might take him, which may loosen up another domino. Who knows? So we'll see what the trade market brings. That's all I'm saying. I don't think it's going to produce anything. Russell Wilson's out there. Deshaun Watson's out there. And I told you, Ron and company, they're off their high horse now. Last year, after winning the division, they were on their high horse. We don't want Micah Parsons. We don't need any bad apples in this locker room. We don't want Deshaun Watson. He's a bad guy. We don't want those character issues in our locker room. We want to have a special and a pristine culture. Well, after you get your brains bashed in this year and lose 4 out of your final 5 to divisional opponents and go 2-4 in the division, shit changes real quick. All of a sudden, Micah Parsons is a special player, and Deshaun Watson, we're going to do our due diligence. Yeah, damn right. We shouldn't be above any of that shit. Anyway, rumor has it that Deshaun Watson and Brian Flores are plotting their next moves together as a package deal. We'll see if there's any validity to that. It's Lion season. You know what it is. But we'll see. Bottom line is, they got to do something. And if you listen to Ron, and as I said at the top of the show, you listen to Ron, they're going to get a guy in the draft in the second round, I feel. If not, trading back up into the first or early second. You can't just sit around and wait. I don't think you're going to be in a position to do that because that's not what happens at the quarterback position. Fortune doesn't favor those who sit and wait. Fortune favors the bold when it comes to the quarterback position. You want a guy, you see a guy, you want a guy, you better go get that guy. You wait, you're going to be late. So don't rule this out. As I've mentioned this to you before as well with the quarterback position. Only guy under contract on this team at the quarterback position is Taylor Heineke. So that leaves space for 2 quarterbacks. A veteran and a rookie. If you really don't want that rookie to play, if you're drafting a Malik Willis, who's a developmental project that you have no intentions of playing in his rookie season, then Mitchell Trubisky makes a ton of sense. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Marcus Mariota makes a ton of sense. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Beware that Washington may be aggressive not only in the free agent market, but and in the trade market, but they may not come away with it. Remember, Washington was aggressive in the free agent market 2 years ago, swinging and missing on Amari Cooper. They were aggressive. They just didn't come away with what they wanted. Washington was aggressive in the trade market last year, swinging and missing on Matthew Stafford. They were aggressive. They just didn't get what they wanted. I think they're going to be aggressive on the trade market again. But this is, and Ron can sit here and say, hey, we got all these weapons. We got Terry McLaurin, and we'll have Curtis Samuel, and we got Antonio Gibson, and, we got and Logan Thomas. We got all these weapons. Yeah, about that. Ain't nobody coming to Washington for that shit. You want to sell someone on coming to Washington, You got to sell them on the fact that this is a complete team, and you can't sell them on that this year. You could have sold them on that last year. Hey, this defense is on the cusp of being elite. Terry McLaurin is a bona fide one. We just added Curtis Samuel. We just added William Jackson III to what already, was already a good defense. We just added another piece that we think is going to make it an elite defense, put it over the top. We just added Adam Humphries to the slot at the receiver position. And we haven't even gotten to the draft yet. You want to come to Washington. We got our shit straight. Can't really say that now, can you? Defense took a step back. Curtis Samuel did not play last year. Never, ever trust a man with 2 first names. He did not play last year. Terry's still out here rocking and rolling by himself. Logan Thomas, probably not going to be ready for the start of the season. Nah. Not a good selling point. Can't do that this year. So don't see anybody choosing Washington unless they genuinely want to come here. How many quarterbacks with chops, with a chance to win a Super Bowl, genuinely and truly want to come to Washington? Let's be real with ourselves. So I said all of that to say this. Mitchell Trubisky is realistic. Marcus Mariota is realistic. These are the types of quarterbacks that will be available, that will be in Washington's wheelhouse, that can be stopgaps, and you can still draft your second-round quarterback. He does not have to play, and you can even make him third on the depth chart if you so choose and please. I'm just saying, can start preconditioning your mind to something like that, where they put together a veteran rookie combo. Ron already told us that's not out of the realm. The very first question Ron fielded during the press conference with him and Martin Mayhew, the very first question right out of the gate was, would you be opposed to a veteran and a rookie? Ron said, absolutely not. That is definitely on the table. And what Ron is telling you is, if we swing and miss on Deshaun Watson, which they more likely will swing and miss, strike one. If they swing and miss on Russell Wilson, strike two. If they swing and miss on Derek Carr, strike three. No. Hit. They may have to go the Mitchell Trubisky, Marcus Mariota, veteran stopgap route, and then take you a second-round quarterback, and you're just going to have to live with it. Mentally prepare yourself. Mentally prepare yourself. Now, if those 3 are available, you'd like to think we can get one of them. Just one of them. But they've got to want us too. This is a two-way street. We can want them, but all of those guys have say-so. They've all got no trade clauses. They get to decide where they're going to end up. So, anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. So, that's my list. I'm sticking to it. 1 through 7. That's the way the offseason for me looks in terms of upgrades and what needs to be done. We'll see if that's the way they approach the offseason or not. I don't think they will, because like I've said already, I think they feel like the roster is a lot further along than most of us feel. Like, I don't know about that. That Bobby McCain fella, he's okay. I don't know if you should feel confident in making him your starting free safety and feel like you don't need to do anything else. Ricky Seals-Jones at tight end, I don't think you should feel really confident if he's got to be your number one. I don't think you should do that. Cam Sims is cool. Could you do better? Sure. But if you are really serious about upgrading the receiver position, get you a guy that could step in and be a legitimate number 2, whether Curtis Samuel is healthy or not. So the way I see it, they're going to need to make some tough decisions with this roster. And we said that going into the offseason, that decisions were going to have to be made on a number of players. They're going to have to do that. And the decisions that are made are going to alter the path and course of this offseason. So we will see what happens. So let's get to the comment section, see what you guys have to say. And we start with John Perez. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John Perez, writes, team needs this in this order, okay? QB, linebacker, wide receiver 2, cornerback, safety, O-line. So he's got quarterback 1, linebacker 2. He's really talking about middle linebacker. Wide receiver 2. So he's got wide receiver 1 position higher than I do. I've got it at 4, behind free safety cornerback. He's got cornerback as number 4. So and then he's got safety. So in O-line. So our lists aren't that dissimilar. You know, you move a couple of pieces around, but it's one and the same. We're kind of on the same page. He says QB and a Terry extension both need to be first before anything else. Those Terry's extension will get done. No, don't fret. As I've mentioned, just like Jonathan Allen, they took it all the way up to the wire of training camp, but it got done sometime in July. I don't think they want to wait that long with Terry, but if they do, I mean, because they got other things to worry about. Like Terry's not going anywhere, and they know that. And the price may go up on Terry. If you're smart, you get it done as soon as possible, because if 1 or 2 of these receivers goes out here and gets top dollar on the market and they're not better than Terry, Terry's agent is going to say, wait a minute. This guy got how much? And you're offering my guy what? No. See, this is how this negotiation is going to go. You want to avoid that. So you get Terry what is a fair deal for him now before that number goes up, because remember, the cap is going up, and all it takes is for one team to do something stupid and the whole market can explode. So I would try to get that done sooner rather than later, but in their mind, they're thinking Terry's not going anywhere. Put him on the back burner for now, right? Because we got free agency to focus on, we got the draft to focus on, and then after we get all that stuff taken care of, then we can tend to Terry. And that's fine too. I would much rather try to take care of that sooner rather than later, but at the end of the day, they're going to get a Terry extension done. Now, the quarterback position is an interesting one because I think they could double dip. I think they could get a veteran and then turn around and draft a young guy, but we'll see what happens. Extra Squaw, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Extra Squaw writes, Deshaun is definitely on the table. Listening to Ron, he's in desperation mode. He can't afford to have another losing season. Huge offseason. So I don't think he can't afford another losing season. He doesn't want to have another losing season. He doesn't want this fan base to turn on him, because after year 1, there was this honeymoon phase that he was going through. I had already warned you guys that the worst thing Ron could have done in year 1 was win the division. Even though it was only at 7-9, it's not like he won the division at 10-6 and then we took a massive step back. We were 7-9 last year and we were 7-10 this year. Like, it's not like this year's team took a massive step back. We won the same amount of games. It's just that the division was better. That said, he still won the division. We still played in a home playoff game. And because of that, the expectations went through the roof. Now they came crashing back down to earth where they probably belonged in the first place. But now here we are going into year 3, and people now are saying, all right, Ron, the same shit, the same problems we've had when you got here still exist. We still don't have a quarterback. We need you to fix that. So in order for that to take place and win big, you need a quarterback. And even if we get a young quarterback this year, but we don't win big this year, I think people will be receptive to that. If we get a young quarterback and we go 7-10 again, but that young fella played in 14 games. We started out not wanting him to play, but Mitchell Trubisky goes down, knock on wood. I don't wish ill will on anybody, but he goes down in week 2. Ryan Fitzpatrick went down in the second quarter in week 1 and didn't come back. So stranger things have happened. Trubisky goes down in week 2. Heineke comes in. He goes down in week 4. And the young fella has to play the remainder of the way. And you get into a situation similar to Justin Herbert, where you had no intentions of playing a young fella. He gets in there and he shows you something. You're like, all right, there's no reason to go back to either one of the veterans. Let's just play the young fella. So you could get into a situation where the young fella comes in and he plays in, 14 games, starts 13 of them, and he goes, 5-8 in his 13 starts. And we end up 6-11 or 7-10. And the young fella looked good. He just made some rookie mistakes and, he needs to continue to develop. And you say, okay, we might have something here. Ron can have a losing season if that's the case, if the young fella comes in, plays well, and we think we got it right at the quarterback position. Where Ron can't have another losing season if he decides to trot out a veteran retread. And because a veteran retread says, hey, we think we're good enough to win. That's why they went and got Ryan Fitzpatrick, because they felt like we were ready to win. Defense is good. We added pieces. We added to the offense. We're ready to win right now. So we're going to get a veteran that we think can give us a chance to win right now. Well, that wasn't the case. We weren't ready to win right now, and we proved it, and injuries and COVID and all of that stuff happened, and yada, yada, yada. You can blame whatever you want. At the end of the day, we weren't good enough. And so I feel like if Ron trots out a veteran retread and he doesn't win, then the heat is on. Then the heat starts to get hot in the kitchen. But if you get a young fella in there and he plays well and we got hope for the future, I'll take a 7-10 with that. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be growing pains. It's going to be tough at times. You're going to be frustrated because we're not winning games. But I'll take it with a young fella, knowing that the future's bright. But I think, to your point, and I think you're spot on, Deshaun Watson isn't out of the realm of possibility anymore, like he was last year when they were trying to keep this squeaky clean culture and really change the way people view the Washington football team. That shit's gone. It's dead. Ron's like, look, I'm trying to get whatever quarterback in here that I think is a true difference maker, and I don't care what his history is. As long as we can vet him, we can find out what went on and feel comfortable about that guy moving forward and what the league is going to do in the event that we trade for him. Hey, all bets are off. Everybody's on the table. I think that's the case with Deshaun Watson as well. So I'm right there with you, Extra Squad. I don't think he's coming here. I don't think they land him, but I think they're going to do their due diligence, and they're going to throw their name in the hat. It doesn't mean they're going to get him, but I don't think they're going to be like last year where they were appalled at a decision like Deshaun Watson, no way. Nah, that's not them. They're not looking down their nose at anybody now. They can't afford to do that. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, only table Deshaun on is a massage table. Bad idea. You can have all the Deshaun Watson jokes you want, but if that man's ready to play football and this shit is behind him, I want him here in Washington. You can, if you want to be that guy, knock yourself out. I'm not going to tell you that you should lower your moral standards. All right. He's not out here doing anything crazy. All right. Because honestly, we still don't know the truth with that situation. And if we were to find out that, yeah, he was flagrant and he was out of line, then that changes. But right now, I think I got a pretty good handle of what went on with this situation. But I'm gonna reserve judgment on that, and I'm gonna keep my mouth shut because we're gonna let the gears of justice turn. Okay. That said, I'm not one of those people that like to stand on my moral high ground and look down at people. Not when you've been in the quarterback wilderness for 40 years, 50 years. I don't have the ability to do that. My entire life, I've been wandering through the quarterback wilderness. Hello, 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 hello. Is anybody out there? Out there, out there, out there? Is there any quarterbacks here? Here. Just echoes. Just me, maybe 2 or 3 other teams walking around. Nothing. Just bunch of trees, and more quarterback trees. None of them any good. All of them planted a long time ago of failed quarterbacks. I'm ready to get that over with. Put it in the rearview mirror and say, man, we got a guy. And Deshaun Watson is young enough and he's good enough that we won't have to worry about that position for the next decade plus. Again, he's not going to be here. Okay. But the possibility still exists. but he's not going to be here. But again, if you don't want him, that's fine. I'm not going to try to convince you that you should. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. You stand for something, keep standing there for that. 10 toes down. I'm just not standing with you. That's all. Okay. I'm over here in the, hey, get Deshaun Watson at all costs category. Okay. You can stand on your ground. We don't want him. He's not welcome here. And you're not going to be alone. There are going to be other people that feel the exact same way you do. I'm just not one of them. That's all. And I always say, we can agree to disagree here on the Louie T Network. We don't always have to agree on everything because we're not. Rob Yu, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Rob Yu, thank you for being a member of the MOBB Rights. Sup, Lou? Sup, Rob? He says, after watching Nick Bosa dominate after an ACL injury, looking forward to Chase bouncing back and doing the same. I am as well. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you. I still think Chase is that dude. I do. But after last season and seeing what he did, I'm hoping that this injury forces him to sit the hell down and get back to the basics and the fundamentals of watching film. And I always harken back to this. I sound like a broken record. And I know. This shit's getting old and you got to stop bringing this up. I always go back to that preseason game versus the New England Patriots when he beat Isaiah Wynn and he used a latch and snatch technique, as I like to call it, okay, where he grabbed him, snatched him, it propelled him to Cam Newton, and he sacked him, forced a fumble, and we all lost our shit. Oh, my God, Chase is using his hands. It's over. We didn't see that Chase Young the rest of the season. He lost his technique. He lost his fundamentals. Everything was just either one of two things: speed rush up the outside, which he wasn't fast enough to beat NFL tackles, or it was a bull rush, and that wasn't good enough either. There was no long arm of the law. There was no crossover. There was no spin. There was no hand. To me, you don't even need all of that stuff. If you can use your hands. Let me tell you what Nick and Joey Bosa do better than any other guys in the league, except for Aaron Donald. They use their hands. If you have a black belt in hand fighting, you can win on any snap, in any given game. I don't care who, and TJ Watt too. If you can win watch TJ Watt, watch his hands. They're always constantly moving. They're not on the guy. They're constantly knocking hands off, ripping, doing all the things that he needs to do to get to the quarterback. Chase Young wants to put his hands on a guy and have that be the way he's going to get there. And if he rushes up the field, there's no swatting of the tackle's hands to get him free to dip that shoulder so he can turn the corner and shorten the edge. He's just trying to run up the field. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. And it's not because I don't think he's that dude. I just need to see it. And I'm hoping that this offseason, to hell with what Sam Mills III is talking about. Go see your old Ohio State coach, Johnson. Go see him. Sit down, watch some film of what made you special in your rookie season. Go watch some film of what you did at Ohio State. And come back and implement those techniques. To hell with what Sam Mills is talking about. Because he want to teach you the Ryan Kerrigan way of rushing the quarterback. That's the shit we saw last year. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lowered expectations approach. Because what I did after his rookie season is I set the bar up here. I set the bar where you couldn't even see it. We were talking 16, 17 sacks in his second year. We were talking about that monumental leap that all elite rushers take. That second year is a doozy if you're an elite rusher. You go from 4.5 to 20, like J.J. Watt did. 4.5, 5.5 to 20.5. You go from 4.5 to 16, like Khalil Mack did, or 15. You go from 7 or 8, like Myles Garrett, to like 13, 14 that next year. That's what TJ Watt went from, I think, 7.5 his rookie year to like 16 in his second year. That's what the elites do. That second year, okay, I figured the shit out. I got it. You don't got to tell me nothing. I got it. Adjusted to the speed of the game. I learned how these tackles set, how they want to use it. I got it. I got all that shit. All of that is downloaded, information processed. I got it now. We didn't see that from Chase in year 2. We saw regression from Chase in year 2. So I'm going to lower those expectations. Doesn't mean he can't be the stud that he was in his rookie season. Doesn't mean he can't be Nick Bosa coming off the injury. Just means I'm not going to go into the season saying, all right, Chase, I need that 16.5 that you promised me this year. You and Montez talked about breaking sack records and shit like that. I ain't looking for that this year. Whatever I get, I'm going to be excited. I know you're talented. I just need to see you go back to the fundamentals. And now that you can't work out, now that you can't run around and do Under Armour commercials and things of that nature, maybe, just maybe, you'll get back to the fundamentals and the basics. Because the only thing you can do right now is sharpen your mind. Hopefully he does that. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. I know he wants to be great. I know he cares. I'm not worried about any of those things. He's going to work hard. I just need him to work hard on the right things. CJ Shoots Photo. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, CJ Shoots Photo, writes, tell me where we are drafting Kyle Hamilton, safety. He says, tell me we are drafting Kyle Hamilton, safety. I would love to tell you that, but I've already said this, and I'll repeat it. But I'm pretty sure you were watching, and you know what I said already. If you're planning on drafting Kyle Hamilton, you're going to have to move up. That's the truth. As Ron likes to say, that's the truth of the matter. Okay? If you want safety Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame, 6'3", 6'4", 215 pounds, runs like the wind, has range, not afraid to come up and hit, has ball skills. If you're looking for that kind of difference-making player, he will not be available at 11. Facts. Okay? Listen to what I'm saying. He won't be available. Okay? The only way a guy like that, with that kind of talent, is available is if quarterbacks get pushed into the top 10. Last year, Kyle Hamilton might have fallen into your lap at 11 because we had 4 quarterbacks go in the top 11 picks. Fields went 11, right? I think he went 11. And you had, of course, the top 3 quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3. That's how you get a talent like Kyle Hamilton pushed down. It doesn't hurt if you've got a deep receiver class rich with talent at the top. That's not this year's draft class either. Jamison Williams, who just tore his ACL in the national championship game, might be the best receiver in this year's draft class. And he's not even available to work out prior to the draft. He may not even be ready for football activities until training camp at the earliest. So you're not getting a Jalen Waddle or a Jamar Chase to infiltrate your top 10 that will push down a talent like Kyle Hamilton. That's not this year's draft. All you have are edge rushers, offensive tackles, which they get pushed up all the time, and you'll get, a corner because you're going to get the LSU corner. He's going to be probably top 5 pick, more likely than not. You're going to get 2 edge rushers in Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau. Those guys are gone, top 5 more likely than not. So you're going to get some edge rushers. You're going to get the tackle Neal from Alabama. There's another tackle. His name escapes me right now. He's going to go early in the draft as well, probably top 7. But make no mistake about it. Those guys won't be enough to push Kyle Hamilton out of the top 10. So we'll see, because there aren't any real receivers that are going to push guys down. There aren't any running backs that are going to push any guys down. You're going to get a corner in there. You're going to get a couple of edge rushers. You're going to probably get 2, maybe 3. You're hoping that the tackle position is one that is flooded into the top 10, especially with teams like the Giants and, the Jets and teams like that need tackles. When you draft a quarterback, in the case of the Jets, you need to protect him. Morgan Moses is going to be a free agent, so they're probably going to be looking for a tackle. They already drafted one. They may draft another one. Remember, they also drafted Elijah Vera Tucker. They made him a guard last year. They could easily push him out to tackle. We will see what they decide to do. Anyway, the Giants desperately need tackle help. The right side was a problem. I told them when they drafted him, Matt Peart was garbage. They found that out the hard way this year. They need help on the offensive line. So there could be some tackles taken, but I don't think there's enough in this year's draft of quality football players at premium positions like corner, wide receiver, quarterback to push down a talent like Kyle Hamilton. I think he gets taken. So if you want him, probably going to have to go up to get him. I could be wrong, and I would love it if he's available at 11. But the likelihood is someone will take him before then. Trevor Patch, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Trevor Patch, writes, I'll leave more in the comments. Only one big gap. Linebacker. We need needle movers, less number twos, least to greatest. Kicker/punter. We already got our kicker. Until he proves otherwise, he's a sly guy. Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo. Sly guy. Sly guy. He's a sly guy. Doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo. Joey Sly didn't miss a single kick. Not an extra point, not a field goal. And we didn't put him out there for a 54-yarder, but he didn't miss. I think he did kick like a 52-yarder. He didn't miss. So, obviously, we got Tress Way. So, kicker, punter, that's not a need. We got one. We're good until otherwise notified. He writes, running back, I can see that, especially if they don't bring back J.D. McKissick, but I think they will. But we'll see. Interior offensive line, I agree. That was on my list at number 6. Or number 5, actually. Number 6 was D-line. Number 5 was offensive line. D-tackle, that was number 6 on my list, along with DN, which is on your list. The line needs more depth, for sure. Offensive tackle, I just threw that into one big melting pot. Because if you lose Cornelius Lucas, you're going to need a swing tackle, worst case scenario. And as we saw last year and the year before that with this team, the tackle is going to go down at some point. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Wish we were one of those teams like Tampa Bay that has the same starting 5 all season long. They played, out of 1,300 snaps in the season, they played 1,285 of them together. That's never our offensive unit. We're putting together 4 or 5 different groups with 2 different tackles, 3 different tackle starting combinations. So you got to have a swing tackle. And if Cornelius Lucas leaves in free agency, we don't have that guy anymore on the roster. So I agree with the tackle position. Tight end was on my list at the very bottom because, again, if Logan Thomas is going to be back for the start of camp and they bring back Ricky Seals-Jones, then they're not going to do anything. They're not going to feel the need to have to do anything with John Bates and still having Sammy's Reyes as a developmental guy on the practice squad. You don't need to do anything. You got 4 tight ends right there, but you don't bring back Ricky Seals-Jones, then things get interesting. I would love to bring in an O.J. Howard. Cornerback, had that on the list. I'm not so big on we need a boundary corner. I think we need a nickel in the worst way right after a long day. We need a nickel. Wide receiver, we all are in agreement that if you don't bring back Cam Sims, even if you do, some of you probably feel like, hey, you bring Cam Sims back, that's cool. I'm in that camp. Even if you bring Cam Sims back, bring another dude in to compete. But if they bring Cam Sims back, I think they may err on the side of, hey, if a dude falls in our lap, cool, but we're not going out of our way to get a receiver. Like last year, they went out of their way to get 2 receivers. And they went out in free agency and got 2 receivers. 3 if you count DeAndre Carter. So between DeAndre Carter, Adam Humphries, Curtis Samuel, Dax Milne, and De'Ami Brown, that's 5 different receivers they brought in from the outside to upgrade the position. That's where we were last year. It was just Curtis. It was just Terry, and that was it. Like we needed and Cam Sims. We needed a whole overhaul of the unit. Well, this year that's not the case. You got Terry, you got Dax Milne, who's going to continue to develop. You got De'Ami Brown that's not going anywhere, and you got Curtis Samuel who's going to be here. So there's not a whole overhaul needed. You bring back Cam Sims, and all of a sudden Ron and DeAndre Carter, and Ron might be saying, we're good. And I'm like, you're not, because if Curtis Samuel goes down, you're right back to where you were last year. Unless there's this monumental leap in year 2 for De'Ami Brown. I'm not holding my breath. So I would say, yeah, it'd be nice to draft a guy, but we'll see. He then says defensive back. He's pretty much saying safety because he already said corner, quarterback, and linebacker. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. JP, who writes, if Ron botches getting a quarterback, I'm officially placing him on the hot seat, as will the rest of the fans, and there will be zero hope for next year. So this is the thing. I need you guys to understand that this isn't the offseason to have high expectations for the quarterback position. Now, you could have revisionist history all you want. Go back to 2019. We should have taken Justin Herbert. Can't do that, but if you want to, knock yourself out. None of us thought Justin Herbert was going to be what he turned into. If the league thought that, he would have been the number 2 pick behind Joe Burrow. We would have taken him. The Dolphins would not have taken Tua Tagovailoa over him. They would have took Justin Herbert. He fell to number 7 to the Chargers. Why? Because the league was like, we're lukewarm on Justin Herbert. We know he's talented. And 6'6", rocket-armed quarterbacks with athleticism don't grow on trees. But just because he has everything you're looking for doesn't mean he's going to be good. We don't know if he has it up here. We don't know if he's a leader. We don't know if he's got the temperament to be a badass quarterback in the NFL. Well, we were all wrong. The ones, at least, that didn't think he did. We were wrong. And he's proven us wrong. And I'm not ashamed to say I was wrong. I wanted Chase Young all the way. If we couldn't get Joe Burrow, which we knew we weren't because we were behind Cincinnati and Cincinnati needed a quarterback, we weren't getting Joe Burrow. I was all in on Chase Young. 2020, you could have been aggressive and went and gotten a quarterback, but the ones I wanted were all gone. I would have taken any of the top 3 in Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, or Trey Lance. I didn't want any parts of Justin Fields, even though I heard Washington was interested in Justin Fields, and I knew they were. They loved his leadership skills. They were huge on that. And, he's a talented kid. And they weren't going to shy away from him because of the Ohio State thing with Dwayne Haskins. But they needed him to fall a little bit further down into their wheelhouse. They weren't willing to give up what it was going to take to get him. And Ron already said, we inquired about moving up, but teams were being greedy. They wanted too much. And in order to give up what they were asking for, we would have had to have truly loved a guy. Not like him, love him. And they loved, I think they loved the top 3. I don't think they loved the other 2. They liked them. They didn't love them. If any of those guys would have fallen to, 14, they would have traded up. I truly believe that. Right before New England's pick at 15, if they truly loved either one of those dudes, and they had, if Fields were there before the New England pick, I think Washington would have swooped in and gotten him. But he wasn't. And they didn't love Mac Jones. So you could play that game if you want. Now you're in 2020, the 2021 or 2022, excuse me. That was the 2021 draft. I think I said 2020. That was the 2021 draft. And now you're in the 2022 draft. And the quarterback crop, for lack of a better term, stinks. Stinks. And you're looking around and you're saying, damn, what did we get ourselves into? You're going to have to figure it out. And I said, that's what these guys get paid to do. Figure out what guy fits this scheme figure out what guy has the chops to cut it in this league, and figure out a plan that if that guy is not ready to play right away, you have a veteran that is, whether it's Taylor Heineke or you get a guy in free agency. Or, as Ron said, we're not afraid to play a rookie quarterback. If we draft a guy, I think that was more reserved for a first-round pick. We draft a guy in the first round. We draft a guy at 11. Oh, his ass is playing week 1. That's why we took him at 11, because we think that guy's ready to go right now. Take a guy in the second round, there's not as much pressure to play him right away. He can sit for a while. He's a second-round pick. We'll see. This is the thing, and I've said this before, and I've been adamant about wanting to do something at quarterback. Definitely not running it back with the group we had last year. Clearly, that did not work. But I've also been on record as saying multiple times, if you don't like anything that is available to you, if you don't love anything, don't do it. Drafting a guy for the sake of drafting a guy because you need a guy just to say, I drafted a guy, will set you back 3-4 years, like we did with Dwayne. It sets you back, sets your franchise back. That's part of the reason we weren't uber aggressive at the quarterback position in 2020, even though, Justin Herbert was there and we could have taken the quarterback. We had Dwayne Haskins. So we still had to give pause to the fact that, hey, we drafted a dude in the first round last year. He's shown us that he's got flashes, but he also has shown us he probably stinks and he doesn't get it. But, hey, we're intrigued, and we did spend the first round pick on him. It's like those pair of jeans that you bought. You're like, these looked a lot doper at the store. I get them home, and all of a sudden, these shits ain't what I really envisioned them being. Like, they really don't mesh with what I thought they were going to mesh with. But I bought them, and I can't take them back at this point. So I'm going to try to wear them. That's what we did with Dwayne. And we realized real quick, okay, I'm not wearing these jeans anymore. Okay. You washed them, they shrunk a little bit. Okay, no, I'm done. It's okay. It is. I just got to realize I just wasted my $50. It's okay. Can't get it back. But what that did is it set you back. Instead of you looking at quarterback and really honing in on Burrow. And I don't know if they, felt like, okay, we got Dwayne. Let's just see what he's got. If you take a guy in this year's draft and he stinks, and we keep going around, Daniel Jones is holding the Giants hostage right now. You don't want to be in a situation like that. Luckily for Tom Brady, if not, the Buccaneers were held hostage by Jameis Winston for 5 years. The Titans were held hostage by Marcus Mariota for 5 years. Those two teams got lucky and found veteran quarterbacks that came in and gave them hope. We have not been as lucky as those teams. But if you are held hostage by a young quarterback, it sets your franchise back 3, 4, 5 years. Don't take a guy for the sake of taking a guy. So, again, I can't say Ron botches the quarterback position this offseason, because this isn't a great offseason to need a quarterback. It'd be one thing if there were an abundance of riches and you're like, look, man, it's so many damn quarterbacks. If Ron don't get this shit right, his ass got to go. That's how you would have felt after the 2020 draft and the 2021 draft. There were so many quarterbacks in free agency and trade and the draft last year. If we were truly looking last year, which we swung on Stafford and missed, and then we settled for Fitzpatrick, and I didn't want him. I told you as much. I didn't want him, but I was cool with it because I knew what Ron was trying to do. Continue to build the infrastructure of the roster, put this roster in a position that when you finally do find that quarterback, you can take off. I knew what he was trying to do. So I was on board, but I didn't want Ryan Fitzpatrick. You guys knew that. This year, it ain't like last year. It ain't like the year before, where you got a bunch of draftable quarterbacks. You may have several quarterbacks via trade available in the offseason, and then the free agent route isn't that bad either. There are a couple of guys that, like last year, Jameis Winston, even though we thought he was going back to New Orleans, he was still available. Like, hey, he's an intriguing option. Marcus Mariota was a guy that if the Raiders cut bait with him, you're like, man, he's an intriguing option. I said I wouldn't do it, but Mitchell Trubisky, not bad. Those guys they're coming back around again this year. Okay. But as a whole, draft, trade, free agency, this offseason stinks. Unless the trade market goes kaboom and the shit blows up and Cousins goes here and Carr goes there and Garoppolo goes there and Wilson goes over there and all this shit starts and Watson goes over there and all these dominoes get shifted and somehow a guy like Tua is out in the cold, even though they're not going to do that because obviously they got rid of their coach because he didn't believe in Tua. If that's in fact the case, they're keeping Tua. They're not interested in the Deshaun Watson anymore. The bottom line is, I said all of that to say this. This isn't the offseason to put a bunch of pressure on Ron to say, hey, if you botch this, you got to go. Because this ain't a quarterback draft or a quarterback rich offseason. So if you don't love a guy, I'm cool with them saying, hey, Bryce Young will be in the draft next year. I will take my chances on doing whatever it takes to go up and get Bryce Young. If I got to give up 2 1s and Montez Sweat, all right, let's do it. I need Bryce Young. If that's the path you got to take, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So for me, personally, this isn't a Ron's got to fix the quarterback position or else offseason. I'd like to see something done. But if Ron came to us after the draft, they didn't take a quarterback, and they got Mitchell Trubisky in free agency, and they re-signed Kyle Allen, and that's what we went into the season with. And Ron said, look, I'm going to be honest with you. And he's not going to be this candid. But if Ron just, at the end of the draft, the same thing you got last year, he's sitting there with Martin Mayhew next to him and maybe even Marty Herney on the stage too. But if it just him and Martin Mayhew after the draft like they did last year to give us a recap. And the first question is from Nikki Javala of The Athletic. And she says, so a lot was made of this offseason and how this team needed to get a quarterback. And yet you guys didn't draft a quarterback, Ron. Why did you feel the need to not draft a quarterback? And if Ron just said, to be perfectly honest with you, Nikki, we just didn't see the talent in the draft. We didn't see the value. A couple of these quarterbacks got pushed up into the first round that we thought would be there in the second round, where we had a second round grade on them and we thought that they would be there and they just weren't. They got pushed into the first round and we didn't really like any of the other guys that were there in the second round. And so we just decided to stand pat with what we had. We feel comfortable with what we've got. Translation, we're going to try that shit again next year, where we know the crop of quarterbacks is going to be a lot greater than the one that we just had to, parse through this offseason. I wouldn't be upset at that. It's going to be a long season, and you're going to be pissed off in the process of losing games that if you had a better quarterback, you might win. But I would say, all right, you better go get Bryce Young next year then, or you better get somebody like him next year in the draft. And at that point, that's when you would be able to apply that kind of pressure to Ron and say, bro, you either fix it this year or your ass got to go. But that's not this offseason, I don't think, personally. We'll see. Nick Caps, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Nick Caps writes, hey, Lou, thank you for being a member of the MOBB as well. Truly appreciate that. Says, hey, Louie, can we throw away the Ryan Kerrigan highlight film? Why? Again, bless Sam Mills III's heart. When he said, I show them film on Ryan Kerrigan all the time. When he said that, he thought he was doing something that we would all appreciate. Oh, he's showing them Ryan Kerrigan film. How could they not be beast? I know how. Because Ryan Kerrigan was an average NFL pass rusher that destroyed backup and average NFL tackles. You put a backup in front of Ryan Kerrigan, he will have 3 sacks. He will kick their ass. If you don't block him on the backside of a bootleg, he'll sack your quarterback then too. And I know there are a lot of Ryan Kerrigan fans out there that, Louie T, how could you? That is blasphemy. Don't you dare talk about our career sack leader here in Washington. Well, I just did. He was a good football player. He represented this organization with dignity in class, but he was far from a dominant edge rusher. You saw what he did for the Eagles. Not a damn thing this season. You know what he did do in the playoffs? He got his first and second sack of the season because he didn't have a single one during the regular season. You know why he got those 2 sacks? Because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers starting tackle injured his ankle and the backup tackle injured his ankle. And he was able to then bull rush the hell out of a backup tackle and a third string tackle. That's why. And I tweeted out the backup tackle sack master is back. Ryan Kerrigan. I love him. Love the guy. Love him. But they got to stop showing them Ryan Kerrigan. And the only thing I would like to see them show Ryan Kerrigan film of, because this is what he took advantage of with those tackles that were, on bum ankles, was long arm of the law. He straight up took one arm, not two, one. Montez Sweat has some of the longest arms in the league. I mean, his reach is ridiculous. All right. They call it wingspan, especially in the NBA. It's got a 7-foot wingspan. Montez Sweat legitimately has a 7-foot wingspan. He should be using one arm to pole vault. That's what people like to call it, the pole vault. I call it the long arm of the law. You call it whatever the hell you want. I call it effective when utilized correctly. Where you take one arm, because one arm is longer than two. That's why you see guys in the NBA, when they go up to throw down a monster jam a lot of times, if you want at maximum elevation, you go up with one arm because you can jump higher and you can extend higher with one arm. Two arms, you can't extend as far. So if you're Montez Sweat, you should be long arming the law guys all day long. You should be pole vaulting tackles left and right. That one arm press, Kerrigan was a master at that. Show them that. You want to show Chase Young and Montez Sweat, two guys with some good reach? You want to show them something positive with Ryan Kerrigan? Show them that. Don't show them another damn thing. Show them that. Don't show them that tired-ass rip that never works around the edge. Don't show them that. Don't show them that tired-ass two-hand bull rush that doesn't work. Don't show them that. Don't show them the Ryan Kerrigan standing there conversating with the tackle as he stalemated at the line of scrimmage. Don't show them that. Show them the long arm of the law. That's it. The rest of that shit, throw it away. I'm with you, Nick Caps. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American, writes, now, I know there are a bunch of rumors, but talks of Wilson coming to Washington are happening. What do you think about signing him and drafting one? Again, I don't understand, and I don't know if this is you running it back again after I'd swatted it away the first time, or if it was somebody else and I swatted it away then and I'm going to swat it away now. If you get Russell Wilson, okay, if you trade for Russell Wilson, there is no drafting another quarterback, okay? It's one or the other. You either get a guy like Russell Wilson via trade or you draft a young quarterback. If you draft a quarterback and you add a veteran or add a veteran and then draft a quarterback, it's because you got a stopgap Mitchell Trubisky, Marcus Mariota type. That would be the reason. You don't draft a young quarterback when you got Russell Wilson, who's got 5 to 8 years of quality ball left in him. It's not what you do. So, no, that's not what they would do. Terry Maples, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Terry Maples, writes, Lou, Terry says, it's been a minute, but I'm back. Good to hear from you, man. Glad to have you back, Terry. He says, we need to take the best player of need at 11 instead of taking a QB too early. Hamilton or Hill at free safety would be nice. So I don't think Hill would be a guy that you necessarily need to take at 11. If you don't take him at 11, he may not be there by the time you come around, at 43 in the second round. But I think 11 might be too rich for his blood. But Hamilton definitely would be worthy of the 11th selection. I just don't think he's going to be there. But I agree. You don't force quarterback. And Ron is pretty much telling everybody that, listen, hey, we're not forcing it at 11. We're not forcing the quarterback at 11. If it's a dude that we believe in, the only guy that I could remotely see being someone you believe in at 11 is Kenny Pickett. And I don't see how Kenny Pickett makes it to 11. He's the one guy that I think gets pushed up into the top 10 in this draft. Everybody else, I think, outside of the top 10, probably 15 and further in the draft, the rest of those quarterbacks. So we'll see what Washington decides to do at 11. I don't think it'll be a quarterback, but they do need to do something at free safety. I feel that way. I'm going to feel that way regardless of what they do with Bobby McCain. I just think they need to add a free safety. And depth never hurt anybody. Just because you add a safety via the draft doesn't mean Bobby McCain can't still be here. I think it's less likely that they pull the trigger on a safety in the draft early. That doesn't mean they won't take one later. But keep in mind, they also drafted Derek Forrest, out of Cincinnati last year. Again, I view him as a pure special teams guy, like a Troy Apke. I do not view him as a difference maker at the safety position, but they may view him in a different light. And so they may be thinking, hey, we don't need to do anything. If we bring back Bobby McCain, we got Derek Forrest, DeShazer Everett will be back. And, and so they might be thinking, we got all these dudes. Jeremy Reeves is still here. Like, I'm like, no, stop. So we'll see what they decide to do. While I got all of you here, I want to mention this, and then we'll get back to the comment section. So, and I'm going to mention this on various platforms on the podcast. I'm going to even do a video to let everybody know what my intentions are. But for the draft content, this is how it's going to go. So for Patreon and mob members, you're going to get the first peek at everything that comes out. So I will put it out a day early with you guys. So you'll get, essentially a sneak peek, elite access, if you would like to call it, to all the draft content, whether it's a draft 101 breakdown or anything that is, a breakdown, you'll get it first. I'll upload it up to Patreon. I'll upload it to the mob first, and then I'll make it live the very next day, right? So you'll get to look at it first. Also, those two entities, Patreon and mob members, you also will have access to my positional rankings. I'm not going to put that on YouTube for the masses. It'll just be for you guys. It'll be positional rankings, quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, all of it. And then my big board. So I'm putting together, this is the first year that I'm actually going to put together an actual factual big board. And I think I'm going to have it consist of the top 50, maybe 100, but I'm going to put together a big board, and you guys are going to have access to that as well. So you guys will have the access to everything that is going on YouTube early, and then the stuff that I'm not putting out. You guys will have access to some exclusive stuff. So I just wanted to put this out there. If you're a member of the mob or you're a member of Patreon, you're going to have exclusive content, draft content coming your way this offseason. And I'm even going to do something that I've never done. I don't know if you realize this, but I used to grade everyone's draft. Draft wrap-up series. Everyone got a grade. I never grade Washington's draft. I just talk about the players and whether I like the pick or not, this, that, and the third. But I don't actually give us a grade. I'm going to actually do that for you guys exclusively. The mob and for Patreon subscribers, you guys are going to get my grade for Washington's draft, how I truly feel about what they did in the draft. So these are all exclusive things that you'll get from me. So if you're not a member of the mob, now's the time to become one. If you're not on Patreon and you want to go that route, you can do that as well. But it's just me showing my appreciation to mob members and to my Patreon loyal followers there as well. So I just wanted to throw that out as well. Rob, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Rob, who writes, thoughts on Falcons FA linebacker for Aluakhan. So Aluakhan is an interesting guy. He can run. He's physical. I like him. I don't love Aluakhan. I think he is an interesting linebacker, but I'd rather go after a young guy. I'm not looking to bring in anybody else's linebacker at this point. I want to groom my own guys. Like, how about we have this young nucleus of linebackers grow together? Cole Holcomb is going into the last year of his rookie deal. Jamin Davis is going into the second year of his rookie contract. Why not draft a middle linebacker and have these three grow together for the next 7 years? Why not? If you don't bring back Jamin Davis when his contract is up, okay, let's have them grow together for the next 4 years. Cole Holcomb is going to be here. He's going to get a contract extension. Him and Terry this offseason. I firmly believe that. If you love these guys, let's let these linebackers grow together. That's how you build a bully defensively. You want to know why Tampa's so dangerous? Not to mention that they got a tremendous coordinator in Todd Bowles. You want to see blitzing at its best? Go watch Todd Bowles. He gets it. Man, what I wouldn't do to have Todd Bowles here. He reminds me so much of Greg Williams. An updated version of Greg Williams. Anyway, you want to know why Tampa's defense has a chance to be scary? They're all young and they're growing together. They got some veterans there. Okay, Shaq Barrett, Ndamukong Suh, JPP, all veterans. All right, but they just kept one of their young defensive anchors, a guy that a lot of you wanted here in Vita Vea. They just gave him a fat ass extension, and he deserves it. He's a beast and a mountain of a man. But he's young. You got Devin White, that's young, and the entire secondary. All those safeties I mentioned, Jordan Whitehead, Mike Edwards, Antoine Winfield Jr., all young safeties, all on their rookie deals. Their cornerbacks. What's my guy from Auburn's name? Shit, I can see his face. I can't think of his name. Well, they got him. They got the corner with 3 names. Can't think of his damn name. I don't know why I'm blanking on these corners' names for the Buccaneers. All of those boys are young. All of those boys are on their rookie deals. That's how you want to do it. They had growing pains that first year. And Jamel Dean is another young guy that is in that secondary on a rookie deal. All of their corners. Sean Murphy Bunting, that's one of the corners. I still can't. Carlton Davis. There you go. Damn, I was blanking. And I was going to struggle until I came up with it. Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy Bunting, Jamel Dean, Mike Edwards, Whitehead, and Antoine Winfield Jr. Their entire secondary. All youngins, all on rookie deals to go along with White at linebacker and Vita Vea on the defensive line. That's how you do it. So I would be in favor of drafting a young middle linebacker. But Aluakhan isn't bad. He's done some good things. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American, writes. Also, what do you think of Mayhew and Ron's chemistry so far? I actually think they're going to do good things this offseason. I'm excited for 2022. We'll see. The jury's out on that. You know what I mean? Obviously they like each other. Mayhew said, look, I like the staff that they've, built here. because a lot of those guys were here before he got here, and they just kind of added him to the mix. So he's like, yeah, I really like a lot of these guys that are here. They work hard, they're thorough, and we'll see. The jury's still out, because I still feel like last year's draft is an incomplete grade. The year before that, when it was Ron and Kyle Smith, that draft has an incomplete grade. But, the bookends of that draft were phenomenal. Chase Young at the top, Cameron Curl at the end, phenomenal. Now, all the pieces in the middle of that draft, that's debatable. You got guys like Sadiq Charles and AGG, who look like minimal contributors. In AGG's case, just flat out bust. He's not any good. So I think they swung and missed quite a bit in that year's draft too. You know what I mean? Like Khalik Hudson doesn't look like anything more than a special teams player at this point. I mean, with all the injuries and all the opportunity, and he still couldn't get on the field. I mean, what does that say about him, or what does that say about this staff and their inability to get guys on the field? Whatever the case may be, Khalik Hudson doesn't look like he's going to be anything more than a special teams contributor. Trying to think about other players. I mean, Gibson's another good player out of that draft. So that draft obviously had more hits than last year's draft. Last year right now is incomplete because Cosme looks like a winner. St. Juice looks like a winner. And Cam Cheeseman looks like a winner. And John Bates looks like a winner. Anytime we talk about a long snapper. But, I mean, those guys look legit. They just, the former need to stay healthy, in Cosme and St. Juice. Jury's still out on De'Ami Brown. He showed us minimal flashes, but I need to see more in order to feel good about him. And, Jamin Davis, I think he's going to be just fine, But he's a first-round pick, so the expectations are a lot higher. Had we taken Jamin Davis in the second or the third, okay, that was a really fine rookie campaign for a second or a third-round pick. For a first-round guy, yeah, you're disappointed, but I like I said, I'm going to give him time to continue to mature and grow. They asked him to learn all three linebacker positions before deciding to stick him at middle linebacker, having him call the plays and try to get him to get guys lined up. He was lost. Now they just say, hey, look, you're going to play outside linebacker for us. Let's see if he flourishes in just doing that. So we'll see. I don't know what the chemistry is between those guys. Jury's still out. Rob Yu, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Rob Yu, who writes, veteran QB this year and draft one in loaded 2023. Now, I don't know if 2023 is loaded. I just know that there's at least one guy, maybe two, that I'm like, yeah, that guy's legit. And that's why I said, I don't think, in John Perez's words, botch is a good phrase for this offseason because it's not a great quarterback offseason. So to me, the way you botch this offseason is to just take a guy for the sake of taking a guy so that the fan base feels good. But you don't really love him and you don't necessarily believe that he's the franchise guy, but he was there and we needed the quarterback, and to save face, you take him. I feel like that's how you botch this year, is if you take a guy and he's just a guy, but you got to invest in that guy. So it stops you from necessarily investing in a guy next year or being overly aggressive next year. That's how you botch this year. So we'll see. Veteran quarterback. I think we're getting a veteran this year. I honestly believe whether we draft a guy or not, we're getting a veteran. Unless, and this is still a veteran quarterback, then you wouldn't get a young guy in this case. You get one of the big guys, the big guns, the Derek Carrs, the Russell Wilsons, the Deshaun Watsons of the world. You get one of those guys, then there is no rookie quarterback. But I think you're going to get one of the low-level veteran quarterbacks, like a Mitchell Trubisky or Marcus Mariota, and then you're going to add a rookie to the mix to go along with Taylor Heineke. And that's going to be your group of three. That's going to be your quarterback room. So we'll see what happens. Malik Ross, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Malik Ross writes, if we stay the way we are and we're not aggressive at quarterback, I see this being Rivera's last year. His plan, 3 years with mediocre quarterback play. Shaking my head. What a plan. So, Ron probably thought year 3 would be the year he would find his quarterback. If he didn't get him already. He tried on Matthew Stafford. He tried in year 2 to get Matthew Stafford. So he tried. And, you know, they were hoping that Ryan Fitzpatrick would come in here, light it up, and they would keep him for an additional year. They were hoping that. And that would have bought him some more time to figure out the quarterback, the long-term solution at quarterback. Because that Ryan Fitzpatrick thing blew up in their face and it backfired, it, to me, fast-tracked this quarterback process. It threw it into hyper warp overdrive speed, if you will. Because imagine if Ryan Fitzpatrick comes here, plays like he did in Miami, and we won 9 games. We just missed out on the playoffs, but we went 9-8. And Fitzpatrick was 30 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. And we split with Dallas, we split with Philadelphia, and that's how we got to 9-8. But it wasn't good enough to get in the playoffs. You could run that back. You could run back Fitzpatrick and draft a young guy, and the fan base would be like, yeah, we totally get that. Fitzpatrick gets injured in the second quarter of week 1. Taylor Heineke is serviceable, but he's proven to be a backup. And now everybody's like, yo, we can't do this shit again. We did it in your first year. We somehow made it to the playoffs. We know why, but we had 4 quarterbacks that year. We go through this quarterback carousel this year. We play 4 quarterbacks again this year. Now you start 3 different quarterbacks, but you play 4 quarterbacks during the season in Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Heineke, Kyle Allen, and Garrett Gilbert. So you do 4 quarterbacks 2 years in a row, and now everybody's sick of that shit. Got to fix the quarterback position. Ron didn't envision it being this way, but Ron's plan always was at minimum a 4-year plan. He told you that when he got here. So to think that he's going to have it fixed after 3, unless you got a quarterback, you weren't going to accelerate the time frame of Ron's plan. You're not going to do that. And it wasn't going to be a rookie quarterback. It was going to have to be a veteran quarterback that would accelerate the time frame. It was going to have to be a Matthew Stafford or Derek Carr or Russell Wilson or someone like that, or Deshaun Watson. It was going to have to be a guy that already had chops in this league. And I don't think we're getting one of those guys. So if nothing's done that you can tangibly see as a difference, you go into this season with Mitchell Trubisky, which I highly doubt that they don't take a quarterback in the draft. Highly doubt it if they don't get a big veteran, established quarterback. Big name, established veteran quarterback. If they don't get one of those guys, it's highly unlikely that we don't come away with some quarterback in the draft, whether it's first, second, third round. I think it's going to be one of the first 2 days of the draft that we come away with a quarterback. I'd be shocked if they don't get somebody that they can develop. So we'll see what happens. Billy A., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, still in rebuild. No QB at 11, then trade down and get more picks next year or this year. Look at the Giants and Eagles. Use for more elite young talent or another QB. Here's the difference. Last year, the Eagles and Giants were in great positions because teams wanted to come up to get elite level players. I don't think this is that kind of draft. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. I don't think there are going to be 15 dudes that are worthy of top 10 picks like it was last year. I mean, last year, think about it. Jamar Chase, look at the season he just turned in. Jalen Waddle, he was outstanding despite running a bevy of short routes. He was outstanding for the Dolphins this year. Kyle Pitts went over 1,000 yards as a rookie tight end. These are elite players that were coming into the draft last year. Okay. So other players were going to get pushed back. Players that we view as really good players, like Patrick Surtain. Guys like that got pushed all the way back towards 10. I think Surtain went 9th overall to the Denver Broncos. And when guys like Surtain, that in other years, like this year, he'd probably be a top 6, 7 pick. But because of other guys, and mainly the quarterbacks, getting pushed up, guys like him get pushed back. Micah Parsons. In any other draft, Micah Parsons is a top 3 pick. He got pushed back to 11 to Dallas. They traded back and still got him. In what other draft are you going to be able to do that in? This year's draft, he'd be arguably the number 1 pick in the draft. And that's not just because we saw what he did this season. You look at his talent and you say last year when he was like, this guy's a freak. The only thing was the off the field. And people, you make up these narratives that you want. And if you do your homework, you can take a chance on a guy like Micah Parsons. I was cool with them not wanting Micah Parsons. I get it. Because if you don't have the right infrastructure and locker room to handle a guy that may be a little eccentric and maybe a little bit, difficult to deal with, if you don't have the locker, don't get him. Don't draft him. Don't do it. Because he'll implode your franchise. Don't do it. Certain organizations can handle an Antonio Brown. Others can't. You can't handle Antonio Brown. Don't bring him to your franchise. We for years haven't been able to handle guys like that. So don't bring them here. I get it. But what I'm telling you is Micah Parsons got pushed back in the draft where he could have easily been in a top 5 pick. He got pushed back. Yeah, you can talk about the off the field things. He got pushed back because the quarterbacks got pushed up, because 3 receivers went in the top 10 of the draft. Let's see. Waddle, Pitts, tight end, but he's really a receiver. Where'd Devontae Smith go? Yeah, he was a top 10 pick. So 2 Alabama receivers, Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts, all go in the top 10. 3 quarterbacks go in the top 10. So 3 quarterbacks, 3 receivers, a tight end, that's 7 guys right there. You had a tackle go in the top 10 to the Lions, and you had 2 corners go in the top 10. J.C. Horn to the Panthers at 7 or 8, and then Patrick Surtain. And that's how the Eagles and Giants got to trade, because they were fortunate that all this talent got pushed back and somebody was thirsty enough to come up for a quarterback. That's how the Giants got out. And then the Eagles were sitting there saying, the Cowboys were sitting there and saying, we'll move back if you want to come up and get your guy, because the Giants are probably going to take him if you don't come and get him. And that's how Dallas was able to move back. And the Eagles, they were able to move back because the Dolphins was like, we got a receiver that we got to come and get. We traded out of the pick to allow the Dolphins, the 49ers, to come up so they can get their quarterback. But we moved too far back. Now we need to come back up here so we can get our guy, Jalen Waddle. So the Eagles were the beneficiaries of that. Ain't nobody trading up in this draft. I don't think the talent is as great this year. I just told you, the best receiver potentially in this year's draft class is a guy that's not even healthy right now. There are no first-round running backs to speak of. In the past couple of years, we've had guys that I looked at and I said, hey, that's a first-round running back right there. There are none of those in this year's draft class. There isn't a first-round tight end. I think the best tight end in this year's draft class might be Jaden Wademeyer. He's okay. Had a lot of drops. I watched a lot of Texas A&M football. A lot of drops. Okay. He's talented. But I said all that to say this. And I don't think it's going to be too many teams thirsty to come up. Everybody's going to be content with just sitting where they at and taking whatever's available to them. There'll be 1 or 2 players you're like, man, this dude's a stud. I got to have him. But for the most part, it ain't going to be like, the last 2 drafts where, teams were anxious to move up and move around the board because there were some prospects there where you're like, man, I got to have this dude. and he has no business being here, I'm going to go get him. I don't think that's this year's draft. So I don't think trading down, every year that's what fans love to say. If you can't get the guy you want, trade back. That's a great concept in theory. It rarely happens that way. Thank you for the super chat, Billy A. Michael White, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, what does Brian Urlacher and Luke Kuechly have in common? Ron Rivera's success. We need a star at middle linebacker. I just, in order to make this defense work, you need a middle linebacker. You need a stud. We don't have one. It'd be nice to have one. We haven't had one there in years. 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 I'm just going to leave it at that. Let's see. If we got any more super chats. We got one here from John Perez. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John Perez, writes, this talk of living with getting Mariota or Trubisky, I ain't living with jack shit. I want Russ, Watson, or a first-round rookie. Bottom line, otherwise there won't be a fourth season of Ron's plan. Well, luckily enough for us, JP, you don't get to make that decision because you're a very, very emotional guy. And your emotions swing with the wind. When we win, you're up, you're happy. When we lose, fire everybody. This is the one thing I can give you credit for. You have been adamant about the quarterback position. You were adamant about it last year. You wanted it fixed. You didn't want to see Heineke. You didn't want anything to do with Ryan Fitzpatrick. You wanted it fixed last year. And last year would have been a better year to fix quarterback. But I was on board with Ron and not forcing it if you couldn't get one of those, high-level signal callers, or at least the ones that I deem to be that in Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, or Trevor Lawrence. And you weren't going to get those because you had to have one of the first three picks because they were gone. Bing, bang, boom. 1, 2, 3. So I was on board with them not doing anything, rash. They tried to go after Matthew Stafford. It didn't work. I don't have a problem with it. So fast forward to this year, you're consistent. You've been consistent from day one. We need to get a quarterback. I don't have a problem with that. But I do have a problem with you not being open-minded to the fact that first-round quarterback may not be ideal in the current climate that we're in. You don't just take a first-round quarterback. We need a quarterback, so I'm going to force Malik Willis here at 11. Like, that's what mock drafts do. That's what Mel Kiper does. That's what Todd McShay does. They put players into positions because that team needs that position. So this guy makes sense there. That's why mock drafts are exactly that. Mock drafts. And I mock them and I laugh at them because you never see them go the way that these prognosticators set them up to go because they're thinking practically. Hey, Washington needs a quarterback at 11. So who's left? Well, Kenny Pickett's gone. So I'll give them Malik Willis. I'll give them Matt Corral at 11. Well, Matt Corral and Malik Willis aren't worth the 11th pick in the draft. Yeah, I do need a quarterback, but I'm not wasting the 11th pick on a guy that's probably worth the 33rd pick in the draft. No, I'm good. If I can't get that guy at 33 or somewhere there around it, I'm good. I'm not wasting the 11th pick on a quarterback that won't be here in 4 years because he stinks or he's a backup. I don't want to be like the Giants. We need a quarterback, so we're going to take Daniel Jones at 6. That's dumb. I don't want to be like Washington. We need a quarterback, so we're taking Dwayne Haskins. That was all Daniel Snyder. Let's call a spade a spade. That wasn't us. That wasn't the guys in the front office. That wasn't our scouting department. They didn't want anything to do with Haskins at 15. That was all Danny Boy. And for all of you Daniel Snyder apologists, he just wants to win. Daniel Snyder isn't the problem. You guys have to stop complaining. It's shit like that that sets this franchise back. And then in order to cover up your mistake, because they wanted to take Montez Sweat or Darnell Savage at 15, in order to clean up your mistake, we had to give up a damn second-round pick to come back up and make right what was a wrong and get Montez Sweat. But you had to give up a second-round pick the next year in the draft. That second-round pick turned into Michael Pittman Jr. You don't think we could use Michael Pittman Jr.? Because I damn sure do. Anyway, I digress. You don't want to do that. Take a quarterback for the sake of taking a quarterback because you need a quarterback and these are the only ones that are available. No, that's how you get back in this position 2-3 years from now saying, hey, we need a quarterback. I'd rather do it once and get it right than do it 5 times and get it wrong. Every single time. They say you never stop looking for a franchise quarterback. That's facts. But they come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. The draft, trade, free agency, tall, short, big arm, all of that stuff. Athlete, pocket passer. They come in all forms, shapes, and sizes. I don't care if they trade for one. I don't care if they draft one. But this fallacy, JP, that it has to be a first-round quarterback if it's not a massive veteran out there on the market, it's over for Ron. That doesn't jive well for me. And no one's excited about Mariota or Trubisky. No, we get it. But that guy or one of those quarterbacks paired with a second-round quarterback or a late first-round quarterback who may not be ready to start right away makes a ton of sense. It does. And if you're in the camp of why do we need to go get one of those guys when we got Taylor Heineke on the roster? He could just start. If you're in that camp, I'm cool with that as well. But keep in mind, Taylor Heineke is 6'0". He's probably more closer to 5'11". All right. Let's just call him 6 feet even. He's 205 pounds, soaking wet. He can try to put on all the muscle he wants. He's a small guy. And every time he gets hit, he gets up grimacing. Okay. At some point, you have to realize Heineke is what he is. And to think that he's going to get through a full season without getting hurt is fool's gold. So you'd rather have 2 Taylor Heinekes on the roster. And you can switch up the names, call them whatever you want. Marcus Mariota, you bring him here, he's going to get hurt. He's going to pull a hamstring. He's going to do something stupid, and he's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks. Mitchell Trubisky, you can bring him here. He's going to get a concussion. He's going to miss 2 to 4 weeks. So you'd rather have more than one of these stopgap, middle-of-the-road quarterbacks than just one. To protect your young quarterback if you don't think he's ready to play. The last thing I want to do is draft a quarterback, whether it's late first, at 11, or at 37, at 43, or whatever the case may be. He's not ready to play, but we Blake Bortles him. Chad Henne gets hurt. Yeah, go ahead. Blame it on the Henne. He gets hurt like week 4, and they're like, yo, we thinking about not even activating Blake Bortles. We don't want him to play. That's how bad we don't want him to play. We don't even want him to be active on Sundays. Henne gets hurt. Blake Bortles is thrusted into the lineup, and the rest is history. I'm not saying that if Blake Bortles got to sit, he would have been this great quarterback, but clearly he wasn't ready to play. Now, there's the other end of the spectrum. Justin Herbert gets thrusted into action, and he proves that not only is he good, he's elite. That happens too. But Herbert is a different species. None of the quarterbacks in this year's draft look like Justin Herbert. Trust me. Ain't none of them 6'6". Ain't none of them 235 pounds with a rocket for a right arm that also has a 4'6", 40 with athleticism to match. None of them look like that. None of them. We talking about 6'2", 6'1", 6'1", 6'3". I think Carson Strong at 6 foot is the tallest quarterback in this year's draft class. That's noteworthy, and I think he might be 215, 220 max. Like, we're not talking about any big, thick, burly, physical, athletic, rope for a right arm quarterbacks, hose for a right arm. We're not talking about any of those. So, anyway, I disagree with your statement. You can want Russ, you can want Watson. What you want and what you get are two different things. I want $1 million. I'll have to settle for 100 because that's life. Okay. So yeah, you can want those guys, but fact of the matter is you're probably not going to get either one of those guys. 1-6 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Lou, do you prefer linebacker Nakobe Dean or Lloyd from Utah? I like Nakobe Dean a lot. I'm intrigued by Lloyd. I got to watch more of him, but the little that I've seen, I like him a lot. And he looks more like the linebacker, like Nakobe Dean's kind of low compact, built low to the ground sort of guy, more like that, 5'11", 6 foot, barely 6 foot dude, which is fine. You don't have to be 6'2". But Nakobe Dean looks sort of like a Roquan Smith type, which Georgia has a type of linebacker. Whereas Lloyd's a little bit more angular, can run. I want to watch more of him before I make a decision. But I'm intrigued by him. I know what Nakobe Dean is at this point. Good football player. Not sure if he's a true difference maker, but a good football player. Derek B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, we need two 3-down running backs. First and second and third running back doesn't work. I don't disagree with you. So the 3-down back does work. You just need to make sure that you have an adequate backup behind that guy. Like, I think what we have going is perfect. With Gibson and J.D. McKissick, they envision Gibson being this Christian. He's not Christian McCaffrey. I've already told people that. But what he can be is the best version of himself. And yeah, he can catch it out of the backfield. Like, stop trying to make this guy into a threat at receiver. Like, he's not. Like, there were people watching the game on Sunday that said, this is what Antonio Gibson should be, what Deebo Samuel is. No. Curtis Samuel is more like Deebo Samuel than Antonio Gibson is. The only difference is Deebo Samuel is built like a running back. Curtis Samuel is built like a small receiver. All right, Deebo Samuel looks like he could play running back, similar to James Washington of the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're built like running backs at the wide receiver position. So Deebo can handle that. Curtis Samuel was a running back, but he looks like a wide receiver. Anyway, Antonio Gibson is not Deebo Samuel. He's not as fluid an athlete as Deebo Samuel. His change of direction is not as fluid as Deebo Samuel. And he's not a route runner like Deebo Samuel. Okay. That said, Antonio Gibson, as we've seen, can be a quality NFL running back, and he can do all the things you need him to do. I think his pass protection is lacking at this point. He can be better in that department. He's not the worst. He's not terrible. It could use some work, though. That I still cringe watching him try to block Michael Parsons and give up a sack. Like, I still cringe at that play. Brandon Sheriff got beat. Antonio Gibson got beat. I mean, he was beating everybody that day. Anyway, But J.D. McKissic is the perfect backup and complement to him, to me. Jaret Patterson is cool. I like him. I don't love him. I like him. Like if they brought in another running back this offseason to compete with Jaret Patterson, I'd be all for it. Anyway. So you want two 3-down backs. You don't want a first and second back and then a third down guy. It does work in this league. Teams do it all the time, but the elite running backs are 3-down backs. Duh. I'm not telling you anything you already know. Aaron Jones is a 3-down back. Dalvin Cook is a 3-down back. Christian McCaffrey is a 3-down back. You know, even Derrick Henry, who really isn't a 3-down back, he's a first, second down back. They don't really like to throw Derrick Henry the football. They don't really love Derrick Henry in pass protection. I mean, they've thrown it to him and he's caught the football, screens and things of that nature. You know, Jonathan Taylor's a 3-down back. Josh Jacobs is a 3-down back, but they take him off the field on third downs a lot of times and put in Jalen Richard. So you can spell your 3-down back. Ezekiel Elliott, 3-down back, but they got Tony Pollard, who's also a 3-down back, if you ask me. But whatever the case may be, I hear what you're saying. But I think you can get away with Gibson on, all 3 downs. But if you wanted to reduce him in certain third down situations, put J.D. McKissic on the field, you can get away with that. And I think we've done that. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy Metaphor writes, I digress. Deshaun's cool, but are we on his table? Nah, I'm not. I can't speak for you. He's not. He doesn't. I don't think he sees Washington as a destination. So we'll see what happens. T Money, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. T Money writes, hey, yo, what's up, Lou? What's up? It's your boy T from VA. What up? Says, what you think about us getting Russell Wilson? I think it's great. I don't think it's happening, but I'd love for the prodigal son to return home. Right here in the backyard, Richmond, Virginia. Love for him to come home. I don't think it's happening. First of all, Seattle would have to want to trade him. I think Seattle would first fire their GM and head coach before they got rid of Russell Wilson. That's how much I think Seattle is hell-bent on keeping Russell Wilson. Secondly, Russell Wilson would have to want to come here. It can make sense for him and us, but does it make sense for his wife? Does it make sense for him and his career off the field? New York makes a lot more sense. Vegas makes a lot more sense than Washington if you're trying to extend outside of football, if your wife is trying to continue to have her ventures off the field and her career. Even though she's been more of a stay-at-home mom, since the kids, still. I think New York, I think Vegas are all more conducive to what Russell Wilson is looking to do off the field. Not to mention, Vegas is probably in a better situation on the field than we are. And the Giants aren't. But they probably feel like if we get Russell Wilson, we all of a sudden are. So remember, keep in mind that when Russell Wilson made up a list of teams he was willing to go to, we were not on it. I don't think that has changed. If he comes up with a list of teams, I don't think that we are on it. So how do I feel about Russell Wilson coming here? Oh, it's great. It's just not happening. And if it does, I will be shocked. Same with Deshaun Watson, same with Derek Carr, even though Carr is a little different. Like he's not in the category or class of a Deshaun Watson or a Russell Wilson. So, at that, when you look at Derek Carr, you're like, hey, Derek, don't try to shit on us like you know, an all-pro quarterback. You Derek Carr, for real. if we keeping it a buck. So don't look down your nose at us. You just played in your very first playoff game. Okay. So what I can offer you is a chance to come in here with a defense that is young and hungry and has a chance to be nasty. A number one receiver, which you don't, you got Hunter Renfrow in the slot, and he's awesome. And we don't have Darren Waller here. So technically speaking, you had more weapons in Vegas than you do have here in Washington if you were to come. We just got Terry McLaurin. That's it. Now, we may ultimately have Curtis Samuel, De'Ami Brown, and, we may build the tight end position up to be a beast and get Logan Thomas back. You add a guy. We don't, it could turn out to be a lot more than what we think. But right now, it's just Terry. That's the one definite that we have. You got two in Vegas right now. But what I can offer you is something that Vegas can't offer you. Just like Vegas can offer you the comfort of staying in the only place you've ever called home in your NFL career. I can't offer you that. I didn't draft you. You just spent the last 7-8 years of your career in Vegas. I can't offer you that. What I can offer you is escape, refuge, okay? Away from a division that's going to kick your ass for the next 5, 10, maybe even 15 years with Mahomes and Herbert. I can offer you escape and freedom. Your team isn't good enough to contend with those two teams. Trust me. You don't want that smoke. I can offer you a division that hasn't had back-to-back winners since 2003, 2004. I can offer you a chance in a division that features the Giants with Daniel Jones, the Eagles with with Jalen Hurts, and the Cowboys with Dak Prescott. They're formidable, but they're the Dallas Cowboys, as they just proved in Wild Card Weekend. I can offer you an opportunity to come in here and arguably be the best quarterback in the division. You'll never be able to say that in the AFC West. Come join us. I got some shit here brewing, I think. I can offer you that. I can't make that assertion to Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson. They don't want to hear that shit. Because anywhere they go, they can automatically become the best quarterback in their division. Anywhere they go, they immediately make that team a Super Bowl contender or at least a playoff team. Derek Carr can't say that. He's not a needle mover like that. He needs to go to somewhere to add to what they're doing. And you only played in one playoff game. So you're not that dude. You don't get to dictate. Nah. I don't want to play there. They stink. Oh, really? Says the guy that just made his first career postseason start. We'll see. I don't think we're getting him either. So I'm going to just say this again, and I'm probably going to have to say it a million times more this offseason because we're thirsty. This fan base is starving for a quarterback. But I'll say it again. Don't be fixated on these big-time, big-name quarterbacks because they're more likely than not choosing us. We may want them. We may be aggressive in going after them, but they have to want us too. And I don't think Russell Wilson wants us. I know Deshaun Watson doesn't want us. And Derek Carr is the only one that I look at and say, if Derek is willing to leave, and that's not a definite right now, and honestly, if I'm Derek Carr, this is the best direction that we've been going in, sans for the fact that we don't have a coach or a GM. But roster-wise, this is the best we've been since I've been here. Like, we're loaded, and we're young for the most part. Darren Waller's a young player. Hunter Renfrow's a young player. Zay Jones is a young player. You add to that mix, and, Foster Moreau's a young player. I really like him at the tight end position. Josh Jacobs is a young running back. You add another running back to that mix. The offensive line needs some work, but they're a young offensive line. Colton Miller is a stud left tackle, and I think he either just got paid or he's about to get paid. They just drafted Alex Leatherwood. He may not be a tackle, but he might be a serviceable guard for many years to come. That's a relatively young offensive line that they're putting in front of him. The defense is relatively young. Max Crosby still on a rookie deal. Quentin Jefferson. A lot of those guys are young football players. Trayvon Merrick. I told you I loved what Nate Hobbs did for them at the cornerback position last year. It's a quality roster. Despite Mike Mayock, the problem is the roster should be Super Bowl caliber with the amount of draft capital the Raiders have had. The fact that it's just a solid roster is the reason Mike Mayock is no longer there. Because even with all of the guys that they added and that are solid players that they can continue to build with, this is all being done with them whiffing on multiple first-round picks, second and third-round picks. If I'm Carr, I don't want to leave that unless the next guy you hire is someone that I just am not on the same page with. So, anyway, I digress. Cowboys Sport Report by Charles in Charge. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you who writes, "Hey, Louie, if y'all get a good QB, y'all will be a contender in our biggest challenge in the East. A good QB and one really good DB, and maybe y'all get Russ. If we got a quarterback, I'm right there with you. I believe we are contending with the Dallas Cowboys for this division. I truly do believe that. But it's easier said than done. We've been chasing after a franchise quarterback for decades, as I've mentioned already. So this isn't a new concept here in Washington where we felt like we just need a quarterback. It's been this way for a while. You know, the closest thing we had to a quarterback was Kirk Cousins, and every fan that, you know, was delusional, that had ideas of grandeur, wanted to run the man out of town despite him setting all kinds of records. Oh, that's just garbage time stuffing yards. Okay, cool. So it's easier said than done. We need a quarterback. Until we get one, this is our reality. You know, this is who we are. Team that nobody will take serious, a franchise that is running in circles on the hamster wheel. You're 6-10 now, 6-11. You're 7-10. You know, you're 7-9-1. You're 8-9. That's our existence. You get lucky, the ball bounces your way, you're 9-8. But we don't win double-digit games. So 9-8 is your ceiling until you get a quarterback. You're either 5-12 or you're 9-8 or somewhere in between. That's where we will reside until we get a franchise quarterback. And nobody's afraid of a team without one. You can make it to the playoffs, but just like we saw with the Philadelphia Eagles, and all the teams that got blown out, really, you know, except for the Cardinals, who just didn't show up. You know, Mac Jones is the future in New England, but he wasn't ready. You weren't going to win shit with Mac Jones at quarterback. And it wasn't just him. His guys did not help him. You know, he made some throws, guys dropped passes, but they weren't going to do anything. The Eagles weren't going to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to have that guy. If you don't, that's why nobody believes in the Titans right now. It's a shame because Tannehill's played well, but everybody's looking around the rest of that AFC conference. They're like, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Ryan Tannehill, Joe Burrow, Ryan Tannehill. Where'd you come from? You know, he'd be the option you'd select if the question was, which one of these quarterbacks does not belong? And that's why nobody's giving the Titans a chance. And is it unfair? Sure. Absolutely it is. But that's the reality of the situation. So we could be a contender, but we got to fix the quarterback position. But when's the last time we fixed the quarterback position? I don't think Russ is coming here. So thank you for the super chat. David, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy David writes, I think a healthy Curtis, we will be okay. Also, I think there is smoke and mirrors on the name change, not sold on Commanders. You shouldn't be sold on any name. I mean, I told you, I'm sticking to what I've said. If it's wrong, let me clarify something on the name, because a lot of you came at me like, and I don't give a shit. I don't care. But a lot of you came at me as if I'm rooting for the name to be Hogs. I don't give a shit what the name is. I'm just telling you what I think it's going to be. I don't care if it's Hogs, Commanders, Admirals, I don't, Red Tails, I don't give a shit. I don't care. I just want to win. I just want to win. I'm just telling you what I think the name is going to be from deductive reasoning. It could be faulty logic, but that's what I'm sticking with. I'm not waffling anymore. I'm not switching how I feel. It's hogs or some variation of that. If it's not, cool. I don't care. I just want to win. Thank you for the super chat, David. I think Curtis will be fine if he's healthy too. The question was never if he was talented, if healthy. The question wasn't even, was he going to be healthy when he got here? I told you that was a misnomer, his health being an issue. You go look at his time in Carolina. He did not miss time in Carolina. He played in almost every game. This was a one-off. This was an outlier type of season for him. Let's hope that it remains that way, that this is an outlier and that he comes back healthy next year and he produces at a high level for us, because we definitely need it. The Dazzling Urbanite. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, grab Nakobe Dean, then Carson or Malik in the second. Now, I do believe that Carson will be available, Carson Strong, in the second round. And I wouldn't be shocked if Malik Willis is available in the second round. Now, depending on how the Senior Bowl week goes for him, that's a big week. Combine, not so much. But the Senior Bowl and the interview process and his pro day are going to be huge, because the Senior Bowl is going to be him in the element. Coaches being able to get their hands on him. How does he adjust to coaching? What does his footwork look like? That's what he's working on right now. I've seen clips, because the one thing in my brief exposure to him is when shit breaks down, his footwork goes to hell in a handbasket. To hell with the mechanics. I just got to figure it out. So I'm watching him on all of his little clips that he's putting out on IG. Have been working. It's all about mechanics, getting the footwork, getting under center, getting his drops and the depth correct, just looking smooth in that process. Like most quarterbacks coming out of college who don't play under center usually have to a lot of the time. But if he has a great Senior Bowl, I could see him being a first round pick. But I think right now, I think he's a guy that the draft beatniks are going to be a lot higher on than people who consider themselves football guys. I think they're going to be like, hey, this guy's going to need some work. So I think they may be Carson Strong will be there. I can't say that definitively, because again, we've seen quarterbacks have meteoric rises this time of the year. But a guy that had a name that rung a bell last year that everybody thought was going to get pushed up. Oh my God, this guy could end up being a first round pick. He's definitely gone in the second. Was Davis Mills, and I keep saying this, but I think Davis Mills was a third round pick to the Houston Texans. I could be wrong. He could have been a late second. Davis Mills, third round pick of the Houston Texans. So that was a name we kept hearing, and he's going to be gone by the third. And no, he was there in the third round. So Carson Strong is a guy that his name's going to be boundied about. But in a weak draft class, if you're the fourth, fifth guy, that means you should be around in the second, third round. So we'll see what happens. Metaphor, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Metaphor writes, number 11, Ahmed Gardner. That's the guy, Sauce, as they call him, Sauce Gardner. Cornerback opposite William Jackson III, if available, unless we move up to 8 for Kyle Hamilton. If not, Sam Howell reconnecting with his boy Diami. I've heard that a lot too, Sam Howell connecting with Diami. Nobody cares about that. At the end of the day, Remember, Dwayne Haskins was supposed to be reuniting with his boy Terry McLaurin. How'd that work out for us? I don't give a shit about any of that nostalgia. Can you play or not? Sauce Gardner, he is okay. I think there's a lot of hype surrounding. I gotta watch him more. I gotta watch him a little bit more because the games I watched him in, he was okay. But I wasn't moved. I wasn't moved. Like the corner from LSU, when you watch him, you're like, shit, he's good. God damn, he's good. I don't feel that way when I watch Sauce Gardner. So anyway, I don't see them spending a top flight pick on a corner either. Just FYI. But we'll see what happens. Condoleezza Perry, my girl Condo P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Right. Watching all the football this past weekend showed not only the need for dogs on your team, but aggressive, innovative coordinators. Yes, and yes. I think this is the time of the year that if you're a fan of a team like ours, it's the hardest to watch. It's the funnest for me, right? I enjoyed because this is the best of the best. You eliminate. I mean, any sport, the playoffs is the best because it's concentrated, right? Like during the NBA regular season, yeah, the Warriors are playing the Pistons. Okay, it's hard to get up for the Pistons. They stink. You may sleepwalk for a half or three quarters, and then you realize, okay, they're the Pistons. Let's go ahead and beat them. And so you get games like that. Somebody catches on a back-to-back. You played in overtime the night before. You might lose. Or you're playing 3 out of 4, and you're like, I'm tired. My legs are exhausted. The Spurs might jump up and bite you that night. They're not very good, right? Shit happens. That's not the postseason, okay? You're getting the best effort. You're getting the best that team has, and you're not getting any garbage teams. These are the best of the best, and they're there for a reason. And, watching Wild Card Weekend, you saw that. You saw the haves and why they were the haves, and you saw the have-nots, some of the teams that maybe shouldn't have been there or aren't ready for postseason play. But all in all, I always ask you guys, what did you learn? And it was clear. You need dogs. We've talked about needing dogs a lot. So that's not new news. But you also need coordinators that have a pulse on when something is needed and what you need to do. Case in point, give you a great example. The 49ers, they blitzed every so often, but they pretty much rushed 4 and had success rushing 4. Eric Armstead, they couldn't block him. Boza, before he got hurt, was a problem. They did a great job of twisting and stunting and staying in their rush lane so that Dak Prescott had nowhere to go. Justin Jones was impactful. He had a sack. They just really harassed Dak Prescott, sacked him 5 times, right? But with the game on the line, 4th and 11, scared money don't make money, okay? With your 2 best defensive players not on the field, and Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, I'm not looking to rush 4 and just play coverage. Yeah, we'll just rush 4, play coverage. That's what we've been doing all game, and it's been working. Yeah. Nah, I'm going to come with a 0 blitz with my damn safety and force Dak Prescott to have to throw up a prayer off his back foot that's incomplete. We get off the field and got a chance to win the game. That's how you do it. That's what we don't do here in Washington. Game on the line, 4th down, and a chance to, we want to play coverage. Rush 4. Okay. Give the quarterback 50 seconds to throw the football, find somebody open. Okay. Go ahead. Do your thing. So you got to be aggressive. I watched Todd Bowles do it. I watched the Bills do it against the Patriots. I watched the 49ers selectively be aggressive when need be. You gotta know when to say when. So I agree with you on the coordinator side of things, and that doesn't just that extends to the offensive side of the football too. That doesn't just go for the defensive side. But yeah, we need dogs. But most importantly, we need a quarterback. That's above all else. We need a quarterback. But you know what would be nice? Like Terry's a legit number one. He ain't Stephon Diggs. He ain't Jamar Chase. When you look at these explosive offenses and some of these teams, Terry's impact, and again, he gets a quarterback and maybe his impact is greater. And that's the argument that a lot of Washington fans make, is that you get Terry a real quarterback. And there's times where he's been behind the defense and the ball's been underthrown. I get it. Trust me, I understand. I still think there's more growth with Terry is what I'm saying. He can get to another level. And if you get him a quarterback, maybe he can unlock some of the things that we see from some of these elite receivers. Like Terry, when's the last time you seen Terry catch a back shoulder fade on a regular go ball, but he's in sync with the quarterback, so he just stops, turns, pivots towards the sideline, and the ball's there. He's never done that because he doesn't have a quarterback that can do that with him. I'd like to see that. We'd all like to see that. So anyway, I digress. I'm with you, Condo P. It's just a reminder of the things we don't have and that we need. Metaphor. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Hamilton ain't getting past Saleh at number 10. Jump to 9. It's going to have to be something like that. If you want him, he won't get. I'm just telling you, he won't get past the Jets. Or I said Salah, excuse me. He won't get past Salah at 9, at 10, excuse me. Wherever the Jets are. I don't know where the hell the Jets are, but they need a safety. So I can't even see him getting to 10 at the Jets. But if he does, he won't get past them. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Ash Gaming, stand up. You are officially in the building as a brand new member of the MOBB Ash Gaming. Welcome aboard. Mob, you know what to do. Show Ash Gaming some love. Welcome Ash Gaming with open arms. Thank you for becoming a member of the squad. You will not regret it. Ash Gaming. Redneck Rocker 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, what rookie quarterback would you pick? Good one. That's the one I would take. Kenny Pickett. Now there's some things to iron out, and I'll be getting my draft wrap-up series started next week, and he'll be the first one I start with, and so you'll know why I think he's the one. But there's also reason to have pause. We'll talk about that as well. But yes, I would say that he'd be the one that I would take. All right, let's see if we got any more comments. One here from Michael White. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Michael White. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Dean out of Georgia is the middle linebacker answer, and I believe he will be there at 11. He should be there at 11. I don't see him getting pushed up to where he comes off the board. I want to see how fast he runs, because Georgia's got a defensive line full of dogs, literally, figuratively and literally dogs. And so it's easy to play behind a line like that. I want to see how fast he runs, because I think he's good. He's instinctual, but I don't think he's super fast. And in today's NFL, instinctual is good. I want speed too. I want both. Let's see. Super chat here from 16 Devil Doc. Thank you for the super chat. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. 16 Devil Doc writes, Lou, would you please remind me what time the Cowboys game is this weekend? How about them Cowboys? Laughing my ass off. Keep doing what you do, Lou. Appreciate you. As I've mentioned before, Cowboys and Eagles both on the couch next to us and the Giants. They'll be watching the games with us, and that's a good feeling, man. It's a really good feeling. It really, truly is. Appreciate you. 1-6 Devil Dot. Carlton Bogano Jackson. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. CPJ, my guy CPJ, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Writes, I'm late to the party, but I'm here now. LOL. Showing some love. Better late than never, man. Welcome aboard, CPJ. Glad to have you. Shout out to the mob, he says. Stand up. Y'all know what it is. We in the building, as always. Thank you for the super chat, Carlton Pagano Jackson. My guy, CPJ. See if we got any more super chats. And we don't. That was the final one of the night. So we will get out of here. But I want to reiterate this once more before we get out of here. And I'm going to say this as well. I haven't said this before, but I'm going to say it now. I am going to be live during the revealing of the name. So we'll watch it together. All right. Because if I'm not mistaken, they're going to do it on the Today Show, the morning show. So I'm assuming they're going to do it at like 9 in the morning or something like that. Whatever the case may be, 8, 9 in the morning, they'll tell us. And they're going to be watch parties all over the place. I'm going to be here live with you guys as the name is revealed and they show us the uniforms and all of that. So we can watch it together. And I would love it if you would come join me and we can share in this together. Whether it's cool, whether it's dope, whether it's dumb, whatever it is, we can sit and commiserate together, or we can share in glory as we go, hey, those are pretty dope. Chase Young and Terry McLaurin and Jonathan Allen, they were right. Those jerseys are dope. Don't necessarily love the name, but the jerseys are dope. Whatever the case may be, we can do it all together. That said, just a quick reminder, said this earlier in the show, going to say it again. If you're a member of the mob or you're on Patreon with me, you're going to have first access to all of the draft uploads. They'll come out a day early for you guys. So you'll have a sneak peek at all of the draft content. Also, there'll be exclusive content that I will not be uploading anywhere else but Patreon and to mob members. That will be my positional rankings. That will be my big board. And also Washington's draft, when it's met its conclusion, I will put out a grade video for Washington's draft. I've never graded Washington's draft. I'm going to do that this year to see what Martin Mayhew and company are actually up to and how I feel about what they've actually done. So again, if you're not a member of the mob, this is the perfect time to join. If you're not a member of Patreon and you'd love support that way, there's an equal and added benefit to doing it there as well. But just wanted to notify you of that as well, and let you know that I'm going to be really, obviously I got a lot of things going on, but I'm going to really go hard this draft season, as hard as I can possibly go. And I want to drag you guys along for the ride. And if you're a member of the mob or Patreon, I'm going to make sure that I bless you with some additional content for all of your support. So that said, on the way out, I got a super chat here from Metaphor. And thank you for the super chat, Metaphor. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Chase's logo knee brace looks dope. 2222. Peace. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with this team, with the logo, with the color scheme, the uniforms, the name, everything. It's getting here, and it'll be here before you know it. But in any event, I am a Washington fan, etched in burgundy and gold. My Washington spirit will never die. Washington spirit will never fold. Until we meet again, hail to our beloved Washington football team. Soon we'll be called something else. And we'll find out together. That's for sure on 2/2/22. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. Until next time, remember, if you haven't already done so, please do your man, Louie T, a huge solid and subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell and hit the like button for more great content as well. So you don't miss anything. Hit that notification bell and like the channel. It helps it grow exponentially. Become a member of the mob. My girl Condo P continuing to do her housework, house cleaning, and her work, reminding you guys to join the mob and dropping the links in the discussion. So if you want to become a member of the Mob Squad, that is the way to do so. Thank you to Condo P and all of my mods for continuing to keep the peace and hold the kid down. Really appreciate all of you for joining me on tonight's stream. And I will see you tomorrow for the Louie T Network podcast. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off, saying God bless and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.
I just